Welcome to the auditory counterattack. Welcome to the RazörForce offensive. It's Labor Day, but Labor Day is a commie holiday, so we're going to work twice as hard to piss off Trotsky's ghost. I am your intrepid host, Razorfist, alongside the itty-bitty titty committee inspector, Mr. Taryn Gell. Hello, sir.
Whip them out. Time to inspect them.
Yes, indeed. Folks, a lot's been going on, probably foremost. Well, shoot. Please don't shoot, actually, after the events of this week. There's been a lot of things happening, but yes, foremost among them relating to the midterms and sadly an event in Minneapolis that we'll talk about a little bit. But before we really get Taryn into that, Taryn,
yeah.
I think that we're going to hear from someone that we both respect. I think we can say that. Taryn, you're familiar with Scott Presler.
Absolutely.
And Scott Presler had a bit of a dire warning. Now, keep in mind, his dire warning is not for the midterms. We are not heading in for midterm elections now. These are runoff elections that are coming in November. And he's got a pretty dire warning here. So I think it's worth listening to. I think he's a credible person to be talking about this. So we're going to take this as seriously as possible. And then we're going to talk about some of the details relating to the election and whether or not this is an accurate verity of what's going to be coming up. We're going to get a little bit more detailed than perhaps we usually do. All right, so this here is a video from Scott Presler. He posted this. It's 5 minutes. We'll play the very beginning because you kind of get it right off the bat.
Hey everybody, this is Scott Presler. I'm not here to bring you a happy video. I'm here to give you a dose of reality. It's August 29th. I want you to bookmark this. You timestamp this right now. It's after 2 a.m. and I'm out walking my 6 miles as I do every single day. And I'm here to tell you, Republicans are going to lose everything this November unless we change things, and quickly. You're going to lose the governorship in Virginia, and you're going to have a Democrat. You're going to lose the governorship in New Jersey, and you're going to have Mikey Sherrill, Murphy 2.0. And in Pennsylvania, where we have been working tirelessly, nonstop, even since the election, we're on the verge of having 3 Democrat Supreme Court justices retained until 2035. Republicans, I hate to say it, and I love you, but I'm going to be honest. You are absolutely clueless. And it's not just the leadership at the top, but I have to say to our voters, if you are only planning to vote on election day on Tuesday, November 4th, consider the election's gone. Over. Game over. You've already lost. If you do not engage in early voting, whether in person or in Pennsylvania, the convoluted in-person, on-demand mail-in voting, and if you don't request a mail-in ballot, you are going to lose everything. And I'm making this video, number one, because we still have 66 days to change things. And we still have 2 months to make things right. But at the same time, I'm also making this as a Scott was right video. That if and when Republicans...
I could never understand making a video like that. Could you, Taryn?
No, never.
No, and yeah,
do not embrace early voting and mail-in voting, and we lose everything, I want to be able to point to this video and say, well, I tried to tell you. Right. I tried to warn you.
So you kind of get the gist of it. To be fair, the subject of today's offensive is really about the midterms. Heading into the midterms are kind of a different thing. These are more runoff, one-off elections. Right off the bat, Taryn, how does that hit you? Does it jive with your feeling of what's going on? Obviously, if you look at like RCP averages and so forth, if you feel like trusting RCP, but if you look at aggregates even, you know, there's a number of factors moving. Like I think I saw an RCP average, the negative sentiment, the country going in the wrong direction index is up by something like 3 points. Not a dramatic amount, but you know, at this point, obviously you don't want it to be heading in that direction. How does that hit you, Taryn? How does this warning hit you? And do you think it's something we should pay attention to, heed? What do you think?
Absolutely. I think for a lot of Republicans, especially neocons and rhinos, have gotten very, very comfortable since we won the election and Trump's in office. It's true here in Arizona, where we're stuck with fucking Gallego and Hobbs.
Yeah.
It's
and don't forget Mr. Clean. Don't forget Chairman Mark, who stuck his foot in his mouth after the shooting, by the way. It's amazing. He used to be, because he's head of the Giffords pack, because he's been, trotting his half-dead wife out there, exploiting her having been shot in the head for years to push the largest gun control pack in the country. But he's stuck his he actually has kind of had to change that program recently. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off that way. You were in the middle of a thought.
No, I was just finishing up. As far as Virginia, Pennsylvania, these are very important states, and he's right. Republicans need to get out. They need to vote. We definitely need to start talking about it more too, with the midterm elections coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. I respect the efforts of Pressler, and again, I think in these runoff kind of pseudo midterm elections this coming November, there's some considerable cause for dismay. But there's two metrics for who's likely to win an upcoming election cycle, and those are voter registration numbers and voter enthusiasm. And while Republicans are not exactly setting the world on fire in the latter category, Democrats are getting absolutely Eiffel Towered in each of these categories. And that does need to be said out loud. So, what I want to do today is something a little unconventional based on polling aggregates presently available, the most recent of which are sadly 2 weeks old, but that's because we're nowhere near 2026. And I actually want to analyze if the GOP are in genuine peril of losing Congress. Because I've been crunching these numbers over the last couple of weeks, and look, maybe I'm brain damaged, but I am not hearing the self-same alarm bells ringing in my head. So I'm going to actually pull up a map. We're going to go state by state. We're going to go race by race. Yes, we're going to have to gloss over some stuff as we go. But if you guys will forgive me for going full Dan Blather with the interactive election map, I do like pretty pictures. So this will be something a little bit different for the RazörForce today. And oh shoot, Taryn Gell's got that on screen. Did I actually send you the interactive map?
No.
Yeah,
I'm currently sharing the next story. So
okay, here we go. So right here, we've got our map. I've blacked out everywhere where you don't have a race already, or a job for that matter. No, so we're just basically going to go state by state, and I think we can both, starting from the left, probably write off Oregon. Right? I think it's probably safe to write off Oregon at this point. It is, let's see if I can do the blue here. Oregon clearly going to go to Jeff Merkley because, let's be real, Oregon, they would reelect Pol Pot just because he has pot in his name. So we can put that one in the safe column for the Democrats right off the bat here. Let's see here. Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, and South Dakota are redder than Hassan Piker's audience. I'd probably put Kansas, Oklahoma, and frankly, a Texas race where the appropriately named Mr. Allred, not even shitting you, his name is Allred, is about to get reamed by the rhino fossil John Cornyn. So, but I mean, let's be real. Where Cornyn's concerned, the R next to his name is kind of carrying hard here.
I will bring up as we go state by state.
Yeah.
You did hear that the Tulsa, Oklahoma new mayor has been fighting for what is it again? Fuck. I lost it. I lost the thought.
Fighting for your own justice? What?
He wants
you can look it up real quick. I'll hold down the fort.
Yeah.
Let's move on to
I've just forgotten the word for it.
Yeah. Let's do what no one does and think of Alaska for a moment. Sullivan, from what I understand, is within a point of Mary, what's her name? Patola, which I think that means the Republican carries it. And I'll qualify that remark once we knock out a few more of these, because there's a prevailing condition with all of this polling data that is kind of going to skew Republican in the overall. You're going to need, Illinois. Gosh, but I wonder.
Yeah.
Illinois' blue is the Danube, but not without a fight this time, because I believe it is an open seat. So I think that's a big deal. Another one that's kind of weird, Nebraska. Nebraska is, shout out to Nebraska, who never gets mentioned anywhere for any reason. They kind of have the same issue Arizona had. Democrats couldn't elected the bailiff for, preschool Stugo. So now they're running what I call pretendipents, that they're pretend dependents. They're basically fake independents who are intended to either split the ticket or kind of be undercover, cloaked Romulan Democrats.
I remember, by the way.
What's up?
Reparations.
Oh, in Oklahoma? What, for Native Americans?
No, for black people.
What?
The new mayor, the new mayor for Tulsa is black. So he's been working on reparations for black people.
Bro.
Yeah, I know. For fucking Oklahoma, a state
I could almost have understood reparations for Native Americans because it used to be Indian territory, right? But what? So there's, as such, Ricketts is in a slam down, drag out bloodbath with a guy named Osborne, who actually came within 7 points of unseating Fisher in 2024. But this time the race is within a point. Probably lost momentum after losing, which at the present juncture, I think that is good news for the GOP. And Ricketts does likely win there. It is Nebraska. But again, probably didn't help when the GOP runs a guy named after a disease. I guess next year they'll be running David moderate to severe plaque psoriasis or some shit. But Colorado, shoot.
Gee,
well, no, let's do Michigan. Let's do Michigan. Michigan, like, what's that guy? Rogers? He's within like a point of Haley Stevens last I checked, which was today, by the way, which is, again, I think that is bad news for the Dems, not least of which because right now he is on top. But so I kind of maybe give is there like a half red, like a light red? That's more of a peach. That's more of a peach. But like kind of a light red for Michigan. I think that's likely to go Republican personally. Again, these are not predictions. We're a year and a half away from the damn election, but this is how the Senate's shaping up. I think Ohio is, look, Ohio's like blood red at this point. It's not even.
It is, but I will point out almost every single city in Ohio is blue. It's
which
it's
is true of most states. Yeah.
It's worrisome just because it's every fucking city. Everyone except for one, I believe.
Yeah.
But
the bellwether for me is the utter Democratic desperation kind of hits fever pitch in Ohio, as apparently the only guy they saw as viable against John Husted is Sherrod Brown, who lost his seat and his entire political career, less than a fucking year ago? I just don't, I don't get that. And I don't get people who are, like Rich Barris, buddy, love you. But this strikes you as a strong election cycle for the Democrats. They are literally serving last week's table scraps with this. So Sherrod Brown, I think, loses to Husted. A native Ohioan would have to set me straight on that one. But I think Ohio is going to go red on that. It's not all bad news for Dems, of course, because you have all these kind of block states here. You have, let me change over to blue. We got to do some like safe blue states now.
Colorado
for sure. Yep. And New Mexico.
Minnesota, let's be fair.
Minnesota, yeah. We got to do a Delaware. Which is Delaware? All the way down here. Delaware. Rhode Island, they'll hold on to those are strongholds. Whoops, Connecticut.
Yeah, the original colonies are mostly going to be all blue.
Yep. There's some stuff I forgot to black out, by the way, I think. Rhode Island, New Hampshire, I think, Republicans for the last several years have been hallucinating that New Hampshire is a battleground. And it actually kind of looks like one this year. Scott Brown is one of the few Republican politicians I know of who actually won an open election in Massachusetts, right? Like, he's the guy who warmed the seat for Pocahontas, in case you guys were wondering. So this could kind of go either way, but the tingling in the bottom of my balls says it's a blue state. There's entirely too many white wine moms over in New Hampshire, and I think it stays that way. I think it stays blue. Let's see here. In Iowa, man, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Joni Ernst is popular as pubes on a bran muffin. Like, I think last I saw, she was polling within 3 points. This was hilarious. She's running within 3 points of a Democrat while running unopposed. So against the generic Democrat, they're within 3 points of beating her. They really hate her. She's in danger of losing to herself, which, look, it sounds uglier than Tim Pool without a beanie, but it's actually easier for a generic Democrat to run that well when they don't have to run on their record, if you think about it. Because, like, in 2025, a Democrat's record is what? Chopping a child's penis off and hawking the clot shot? You know what I mean? Once you start going through their record, it starts looking worse. So that kind of tends to affect their long-term prospects once you place them under review. This is probably why every poll aggregator I saw that isn't busy, juiceburging or whatever on social media has this as a lean R race. So I'm going, oops, sorry. Did not mean to do that. I'm going lean R on that. It's I think Iowa goes Republican. This will, of course, only be slightly defrayed by Massachusetts, surprise, surprise, and New Jersey, if I can find it. There we go. Gosh, I feel like a total retard. I'm like trying to remember my geography for a moment from grade school. But those races are essentially a gimme. It's Massachusetts and New Jersey, y'all. It is. And of course, Scott Pressler was warning us about the governor's races in some of those states. So how's this looking to you so far, Taryn?
It's looking pretty accurate. I mean, you got the Rust, that's the Rust Belt, right? I call it Tornado Alley.
Uh-huh.
Right. That's all red.
I going down the coast here. I've seen some aggregates consider North Carolina and Virginia to be competitive. But like, I know people in both those states. I simply do not see that reality reflected on the ground. I think Dems are picking both those races up, albeit I think it'll be in a soft serve fashion. Because I get it. Like, both Republican candidates are within like a point or two. But I just think here's the X factor. If Glenn Youngkin gets off his ass in Virginia and runs, we may have to modify that. Right, because that would make it genuinely competitive. Although I've seen face-to-face like polling on that he's like 5 points behind or something.
Can I just bring up the fact that how the fuck do North or South Carolina go blue after all the disasters they've been through in the past 2 or 3 years?
Dude,
Fires, floods, more floods.
How did
Democrats left you guys out to twist in the wind? Literally. Shit. How do you vote for them?
Oh man, that's a good point. I wasn't even thinking of that. Strangely enough, Maine is probably the most interesting of the northeastern states, which is a sentence probably has been said by nobody anywhere ever. But in this election cycle, it is actually kind of true. Susan Collins, she steamrolled the Democrat in 2020, despite all they had polls showing her she was going to lose by like 5 points or more. And I think she wound up winning by nearly 9 points. One of the few Republicans in 2020 to run ahead of T-Money. So I'd probably give kind of a soft carry here. She's running for like a 6th term or something stupid like that. I think she's one of the oldest, if not the oldest, serving member of Congress or something. She's been there forever. So, but I give it a soft carry on the Republican side. She is polling ahead. and underestimating that woman, dude. If she could carry in 2020, tracking ahead of Trump, she was like the only person to do that. I mean, that's okay. Taryn, flip a coin. What do you think's going to happen in Florida, the battleground state of Florida?
Oh, gee whiz. Jeb.
We are basing this off aggregate data, by the way. I'm citing it as I go, but we do have head-to-head matchups. I went through all the aggregate data, and there's an interesting fact to note that I'll mention at the very end that makes all this data even better for Republicans when you really break it down. But anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Jeb.
Yes. Please clap.
Just
so
imagine.
Yes. Needless to say, let's find yellow for Jeb. Let's find yellow for Jeb. No. Gang. Florida's completely gone for the Dems.
Just imagine somewhere in Florida right now, Jeb Bush is eating a puppy.
It's true. Somewhere. Moody sort of sucks, but it won't matter. Because it's Florida. I'm sorry, Florida's red now. It just is. Ditto for Tennessee. Ditto for Kentucky. Shout out to my Kentucky bros. Ditto for West Virginia. Ditto for Alabama. Definitely Mississippi. And good old LA, Louisiana, and Arkansas. Those are all safe red.
Of course, I like Ohio. I worry about Louisiana because of their growing blue cities, but still safely red.
These are, South Carolina. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. What do you think of Georgia?
It's tough because it has flipped blue in the past. I don't know this time around. See, I don't know too much about the elections this time around, so I don't know what Georgia specifically is in for.
I'm saying Georgia. I consider Georgia a flat out blue state until they fix their elections, personally. And looking at the individual race itself, it seems to favor the Democrat. I'm going Georgia. It'd probably be a little bit lighter of a blue. To tell you the truth, I think that's kind of a light carry on the Democratic side, but I think, it's... and I'm sorry, gang, I hate him, you hate him, I poke holes in his voodoo doll every single night, but Lindsey Graham's not going anywhere. He's not. You can cry and you can cope and you can be mad that Trump endorsed him. Trump likes to endorse a winner. I'm sorry, but Lindsey Graham's going to win. Just is what it is. It's that's the way it's tracking. That's the way every single aggregate is leaning. And that's kind of how I'm look. So I said I would qualify these remarks, and now I'm going to. All these numbers, the multifarious races, either close or leaning, are in, again, what some pundits on the right and even Scott Pressler are now kind of insinuating is a doomed effort in 2026. These polls, from which the aggregate comes, are overwhelmingly sourced from Democratic polling firms. These are Democrat polls. And the reason why, of course, is logical. Democrats got their colons caved in 2024, so they have a vested interest in spending shitloads of pesos on polling to recapture the fag flag, as it were, right? So they're the ones spending on polling, right? These are pro-Democratic polls. Look at that map. Look at that map. Meaning the math not only says Democrats won't retake the Senate, but the numbers behind the math come from polls that are supposed to favor the Democrats. And you're black pilling, bitch. Now, again, this is not a prediction. Hell, we're over a year and a half away from Election Day. But my suspicion at this point is that the behavior of some of the Presslers and others is kind of tactics rather than a sincere expression of their actual anxiety. I think
I see
Pressler wants a mobilized base, and scaring the runny diuretic shit out of the voters is one method of attempting to accomplish that aim. I think this is alarmism in the name of tactics, personally. I'm not saying that in this November, which is not a midterm election, that we're not in peril. I think there's some legit concerns there that he was blowing the whistle on, and I co-sign them completely. But how do you feel about that, Taryn? First off, before I move on.
No, I mean, I'd say that's smart, especially the way if you wanted to play back the video, you don't have to, but the way he was saying these, this doom saying that he was doing, yeah, definitely. He was probably just scaring a few select people into getting their butts in gear.
Yeah. I think...
and by the way, Hawaii is blue.
Right? Always. Actually, I think it might be blacked in. Do they have a Senate race this go around? I actually am not sure. Just a second. If you wouldn't mind reading a super chat real quick while I look that up.
Absolutely.
Again, I did a lot of this looking at these aggregates ahead of time.
Ben, did you see what Scott Pressler posted recently? We're talking about it now. And a grave warning for the right.
There we go.
On midterm voting, and I think
it looks like they have state level Senate elections, I believe.
He has more than earned our attention. Well, we just talked about it.
Yep.
Matthew, finally get to catch an offensive live. Let's fucking go.
Yes. Godspeed. So don't tell me we never go in depth on anything. All of that was taken from the existing aggregate. Keep in mind, this is really early polling. Some of the polling data there, like the most recent was like from 2 weeks ago, and some of the most distant was like from 2 months ago. So you got to take that into account. You got to weigh that in, absolutely. But that to me that map was not alarm bells. It's at least not for 2026. I think in November, we have much more immediate concerns for a variety of reasons. You look at the states where those races take place in, places like New Jersey, not exactly MAGA country, bitch. You have to put bitch on the end now. It's actually the law, according to Jesse Smollett. Thank you, King Fire. An offensive on a Monday afternoon. Have money. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Let me actually check that off. All right. Cal, we need a Mason-Dixon border wall. We need a Donna Dixon border wall. She'll break up with Paul Stanley and frickin' go with one of the Blues Brothers and Dan Aykroyd. She dumped Paul Stanley for Dan Aykroyd. What the hell? Cunning Druger. Since I moved to New Hampshire, what I've observed is there are very few right-wingers, just people that hate government, which I relate to, but I don't think they vote. Yeah, on the ground, New Hampshire is just this weird hallucinatory, like Republicans keep thinking. Remember when, for example, they threw Linda McMahon? What did she run for? Senate, I think? Or governor? It was Senate, I believe.
Yeah, Senate or governor.
They ran Linda McMahon in that race thinking, if she ran as a Republican, they're going to take that seat. They're going to whatever. And she wound up getting shellacked. It just didn't. Husted, thank you very much, Big Mike. Ohio in here, it's pronounced Husted. All right. Matthew Holloway, Matt from AZ Free News here. Hey, Godspeed. Thank you for joining us. This dovetails with what I've been seeing. Godspeed. Yeah, we're not saying that you need to rest on your laurels. I just suspect that some of this alarmism, certainly with regard to 2026, is kind of trying to mobilize the base. And it's not a bad thing. Maybe I shouldn't even say that, so it'll be more effective, but that's my suspicion. Ace 1589201. As a judge of elections in PA, turnout was less than 25% of voters for the midterm election this year. Interesting. Flytrap. I love these kind of stories from on the ground in these different states because I've been to a lot of states. I've been in something like 30 of the 50 states, but that leaves quite a number of states that I've never been to. So hearing kind of the political reality on the ground from an actual native is really neat. So if you guys want to weigh in on whether or not you think I'm full of shit on one race or another, keeping in mind, I was just basing it on the current polling aggregate. It wasn't like I was pulling these numbers out of my ass. These were not really predictions. But anyways, New Hampshire is blue only because we're flooded with mass holes and undocumented. Undocumented. Get out of here with that bullshit. It's illegal. And it's not even illegal immigrants. It's illegal alien. Get it right. Most counties/districts are red. Many such cases, state level electoral college. No! Anyway. Cyan, North Carolina is being infected by Maryland and Virginia expats. They're flooding cities. They aren't caring. They aren't caring about hurricane issues. And don't get me started on H-1Bs in Raleigh, North Carolina. Interesting.
So they've got the same problem we do with Californians.
You know what? That sounds familiar, bro. It sounds really familiar. We're going to read one or two others, and then we will talk about probably the other real big story this week. I mean, gosh, I went to two different churches this Sunday. I stopped in on one, and I actually worshiped at the other, and both pastors talked about this, the shooting, of course. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. Matthew 5:9, finally get to catch an offensive live. Godspeed, sir. All right. Fotsy, I showed my dad your Carter rant. In response, he dissuaded me from watching your channel as it will apparently teach me to hate. The devil will take hold, and I will then hate him. Boomer cons, bro. I mean, nobody twisted Jimmy Carter's arm to prevail upon Jerry Brown and the California establishment to illegally appoint Jim Jones, the housing commissioner, so that he could then wield a position he never should have held against his sexual assault victims, ultimately leading to him fleeing to Guyana when the investigation intensified, and ultimately leading to 1,000 dead commies face down in the Guyana jungle. But go off, BoomerCon Dad, I suppose. Thank you, who are in the steadfast. Normal man, commies react to work like vampires do. At the sight of a cross, I wonder how commies react to garlic. I don't know. The Muslim commies that we keep hearing from, they seem to consider garlic a perfume. So I don't know. In my personal experience, anyways. What about yours, Taryn? Is that halal?
Halal.
Halal. Let's see the first story, Taryn. This is interesting. We've had a number of wrinkles in the aftermath. So, of course, there was a shooting in Minneapolis at a Catholic school. I believe 2 victims died. I'm not sure how many wounded. May they rest in peace, our brothers and sisters in Christ. And it's hit the Christian community hard. It's hit the Catholic community hard. It's hit the Minneapolis community hard. And of course, the trans community waited about 10 minutes after the event to make it all about them. The mother, there was a whole other wrinkle then with the mother having to flee the state. She ran off to Florida or something like that. They were trying to pursue her. Some people were going after her, claiming that she was a super woke, bad Catholic mom, and whatever. Turns out she actually had tried to dissuade her son from transitioning. She's not a bad Catholic mom. She's just a mom dealing with the realities of a world that has fallen and has corrupted her child. That's apparently the latest version of events anyways. This is a transitory and constantly evolving story, so I apologize in advance if anything I say here turns out not to be accurate after the fact. But when you heard this and then heard some of the wacky details of the event, Taryn, what was your first thought exactly?
I mean, probably the same as many others. Again.
Right.
And of course, it's in a blue state, in a very deeply blue city.
And they're pushing gun control like 5 minutes after. And gang, Minneapolis, not exactly an open air gun market, not exactly a firearm-topia at all. They have tons of gun control. They're maybe not quite as stringent as, say, California, but few are. They're not far down the list. I forget what the exact ranking is on gun control. The Giffords Pack gave them a rating a while back, and it was somewhere in the top 10, top 15 of gun control dystopias. So gun control had nothing to do with this. Absolutely nothing.
No.
The idea of, and I saw Charlie Kirk's retarded ass supporting red flag laws for trans people, which there's already red flag laws already apply to the mentally ill. Okay. So if you got gender dysphoria, that's a mental illness. You're already on it. You don't have to specify trans. They've already got a mental illness. The problem, of course, is when we refuse to categorize trans people as having a mental illness. Which is weird because they have to own up and be diagnosed with a mental illness in order to qualify for insurance to cover their transition surgery, right? Brilliant little socio-political catch-22 right there. But yeah, so go ahead and read this because we just got details that the Minneapolis came out maybe 4 days ago. The Minneapolis school shooter, it turns out, had been one of the many, many, many people who transitions and then regrets it.
Let's see.
Please don't say the name of the person.
Oh, the actual shooter?
Yeah, just call him shithead. I don't care what. I'm so tired of people signal boosting these people afterward because it's absolutely a factor. It's 100% a factor. I made a post on social media a few days ago saying, serial killers disappeared around the same time mass shooters showed up, and few people understand the significance of that statement. And I believe serial killers, for a while there, were in it for the thrill and for the attention. They wanted to ultimately divulge their secrets. They played cat and mouse with the press for that reason. They want the Zodiac killer, for example, demanded that the San Francisco Chronicle, I think it was, post his whole thing and whatever. So I think the attention that they could have gotten over here, it now was too risky because of DNA science and a variety of other factors. And so now they just commit suicide by cop in a mass shooting. They're going to kill themselves anyways, but they want the attention and the validation. And I really think that's part of the factor in the transition, if you'll pardon the pun, away from serial killers to mass shooters. So to bring it back around, this is why I would prefer we don't say the name of the prick.
That's fine. I mean, like the Zodiac killer, I mean, he could have just run for senator or something.
Right, exactly. Gotten elected in Texas. Jesus.
I regret being trans. Minneapolis school shooter expressed desire to detransition ahead of attack. Said he kept long hair because it would be an embarrassing defeat to cut it. Okay. Trans-identifying mass shooter confessed in a manifesto that he was tired of being trans and wish he had never brainwashed himself.
Yep. Cancel this podcast. Thank you for weighing in there. Isn't Munchausen mother in the wind right now? His mother, it sounds like, actually opposed the transition and tried to get him help. It sounds like the world interceded and radicalized this kid. But yeah, she fled, and it sounds like her fleeing was kind of like it reminds me of is George Zimmerman after the Trayvon thing, after he got acquitted. Remember him getting like pulled over in Texas speeding, and the cop being like, "Dude, why are you driving so fast?" And he said to the cop, "Do you know who I am?" Right? Like, the entire country wants to kill me right now. That's why I'm speeding. I'm literally fleeing the state of Florida as fast as I can. I get those vibes from this kid's mom, personally. I think she was unfairly demonized at the outset of all this, to tell you the truth.
Shithead shared his disturbing manifesto on YouTube before he gunned down the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and killed 2 children on Wednesday. He wrote that he only kept his long hair because it would be an embarrassing defeat to cut it, according to a translation by the New York Post. I only kept the long hair because it was pretty much my last shred of being trans. I am tired of being trans. I wish I'd never brainwashed myself. I can't cut my hair now, as it would be an embarrassing defeat. It might be a concerning change of character that could get me reported. It just always gets in my way. I will probably chop it on the day of the attack.
Yep.
Really planning ahead.
Yep.
Shithead changed his name from asshole to cunt
Gaping asshole. There.
in 2019 under the approval of his mother Mary because he identified as a female, court records show.
Trying to read too much into the mother being Mary and then him shooting up a Catholic school. Some paging Dr. Freud.
The petition, which was granted in January of 2020, stated that the asshole identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification. The shooter also said that he regretted being trans and wished he were a girl, but he did not have the money to make the bodily changes necessary, according to the Post. I regret being trans. I wish I was a girl. I just know I cannot achieve that body with the technology we have today. I also can't afford that.
You can't achieve it either way, bro. You cannot give yourself a vagina. You can give yourself a wound. Okay, that's what you're dealing with here.
In his journal, Asshole wrote that he did not want to wear girly clothes all the time because he understood he is not a woman, but he definitely didn't feel like a man. This is so obviously, this person needed to be in an asylum, some sort of psychiatric care.
Yes. Yes,
Jesus.
Absolutely. And well, what happens though when they go to the psychiatrist? This is the problem. Everybody's like, prosecute the gun manufacturers, prosecute this person, prosecute that person. It's like, prosecute the damn psychiatrists. Because these people are coming to them with gender dysphoria and they're flat out saying, well, clearly, if you're a kleptomaniac, the only possible treatment is we're going to allow you to steal as much as possible. That's the treatment. Like, you hate to feel you can relate to a murderous mong like this, but how would you feel if a psychiatrist told you the cure for the common cock was changing your name to Sapphire, and then a surgeon told you he'd turn you into Heather Locklear, and instead, look at the picture of this kid. Could you scroll back up?
Sure.
Scroll back up. Instead of turning you into Heather Locklear, you look like Rocky Dennis after a skin peel. That's what they turned him into. Of course, fortunately for the human race, Homeboy's gone from murderous to cadaverous. He did not survive the attempt, but that's, it's the ghoulish, it's the surgeons that are basically putting their kids through extremely expensive colleges by performing these surgeries, and the psychiatrists who are making their nut, prescribing all of the hormones and everything. I mean, holy shit, dude.
Should I continue?
Yeah, please do. Sorry if you didn't lose your place.
No. Hours before the shooting, Asshole posted videos to YouTube where he zoomed in on ammunition, multiple guns and cartridges with cryptic messages written on them, including one that called to kill the president. Asshole's mother worked as a secretary at the Annunciation Catholic School for 5 years before her retirement in 2021.
Wow.
Democratic Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, other asshole, spent an entire minute during Wednesday's press conference lecturing people to not villainize the trans community.
I don't. I see these people as having been predated upon by the pharmaceutical industry, by surgeons, by psychiatrists, by this establishment that is essentially, and by entertainment as well. Entertainment propaganda and education propaganda has a lot to do with this. Because back in the day, dude, I knew a girl growing up. I had a crush on her too. In grade school, we're in like third grade together, and her name was Ryan, and she was a tomboy. And being a tomboy and being named Ryan, you know what I mean? It's like this poor girl got picked on like crazy, but she was pretty. Like, she was pretty, but she was a tomboy and whatever. Nowadays, dude, it'd be, oh shit, she likes basketball and her name's Ryan. Clearly, we gotta turn that innie into an outie. This girl would have had no chance in 2025. You know what I mean? And we all have stories of that. Some of the people in the audience might even have stories of that. Some people growing up, some men growing up, maybe they're just raised by their mom, maybe they're whatever. Some of them just wind up being a little bit more effeminate, but they grow up and they wind up being a perfectly straight guy, right? Nowadays, it's like, oh, your favorite color's hot pink. Sorry, dude, gotta chop your dick off. Sorry, that's the only sovereign remedy. It's the cure for the common cock, as we say. That's where we're at, dude. We gotta do not deal with this problem downstream. We gotta go upstream to the source, to the people who are propagandizing these youth into mutilating themselves, and the people who are profiteering off of their misery. But yeah, so that is not, however, the only other major story. Actually, hold on. We got a few people. Get a few people weighing in on the story. Taryn, you care to read that out?
Do I have to? That jaw has been folded 1,000 times.
1,000 times. Godspeed. You're a horrible human being. We're glad to have you.
Before you move on with super chats, let me get some of the Rumble rants out of the way.
Sure. Yeah.
Ruron, Razor.
Thank you for being on top of that, by the way. I didn't have that open.
Razor, I was happy to see Carrie Lake reposted your post in regards to Andy Biggs. Congratulations and God bless Carrie Lake.
Yeah, I want to go on record as saying I do not support Andy Biggs. I understand we're kind of in a best of a bad situation kind of deal. Who knows? Maybe when election day comes around, I'll still pull the lever for him. This guy blamed Carrie Lake for being screwed out of an election. Didn't lend her any support. AZ GOP didn't do much to support her election lawsuits either, even though she ultimately pushed the issue enough for the Arizona Supreme Court to admit on the record that she rightfully won the governor's election in 2022. Carrie Lake is the elected governor of Arizona. She just didn't get to serve. But because Carrie Lake couldn't prove that it was done with malice and that Katie Hobbs did it on purpose, Katie Hobbs gets to remain governor. That's the way the law works. Andy Biggs didn't support her at all. Not at all. And now he's cosplaying as MAGA. And there's a bunch of people gassing his ass up. A bunch of people who said nothing in support of Carrie Lake when she was using her own money to fund that lawsuit. It's horseshit. Why would you enlist me in a battle you've already proven, AZGOP, that you are not willing to fucking fight? I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I don't trust Andy Biggs. I don't trust most of the people who support him. I understand some people, he's the best option we have. The only other option is who? Karen Taylor Robeson? Like, we all know she's trash. But here's the thing. At least we know outwardly she is trash. Andy Biggs is pretending to be someone he is not. And the moment he gets a chance, he's going to John McCain backstab us. You mark my motherfucking words. So, yeah, I did want to go through. What's another one? Sorry.
Just two more.
Okay.
Both from Ruron again. Ruron, whom do you think will run against Mark Kelly? Allegedly, Mark Lamb isn't going to run.
That's interesting. Lamb would be my first choice. You wonder. I don't think they would go to the Blake Masters well again. But, I mean, here's the thing. They didn't really support Blake Masters. That poor bastard. He managed to get that race within, 5 points or something? And he had no help in doing that at all. It's like, well, gosh, looking back on the election result, I guess we'll never know if the money you didn't spend in Arizona might have made that seat red. That happened both times in the Senate races. The national GOP and the AZ GOP did not properly support Carrie Lake, and they didn't properly support Blake Masters. Both of those people basically were just left to twist in the wind. And in the case of Carrie Lake, what was she, 1.5 points away from beating Rube Gallego, for Christ's sake? That's money. That's a case where if the national GOP had turned any attention whatsoever to that race, Rube Gallego would not be in the Senate. It's maddening, dude. It's absolutely maddening.
And his last question, why do you think Byron Brian Donalds, Andy Biggs, Mike Lee, and Lauren Bobart endorse Chip Roy for Texas AG. Aaron Wrights, whom is genuinely MAGA, is also running.
Yeah. Well, look at the names you just listed there. Kind of like only vaguely MAGA adjacent. A lot of people have been kind of skeptical of Boobert, whatever you prefer to call her. And Andy Biggs, you just heard me harangue for an uninterrupted 5-minute period. So I'm not particularly predisposed to trust any of them. Thank you for pointing that out, Matthew Hammond. Lindsey Graham is getting primary challenged. Big Mike, I aspire to be as anti-socialist as you, Razor. Can't be done. Working on Labor Day, the only federal holiday thanks to labor unions, just to spite the bastard. God fucking speed. Godspeed, sir. And thank you for joining us. Isaac, I personally believe we need a third party to run in the elections, red or blue, don't matter who. Both sides are bought and paid for. You're not telling lies. Hell, that's what Trump ran on in 2015. Agamemnon Fireman, want to share this. Pat Boone, Golden Age era Hollywood star and Christian, was Ozzy's neighbor and friend in LA. There's a rumor going around he helped privately baptize Ozzy before he died. I hope it's true. I hope it's true too. Ozzy was not as far from Christian as people think. No one in Black Sabbath was. Geezer Butler has been a devout Catholic his entire life. Tony Iommi's been a Catholic his whole life. I don't know about Bill Ward. I think he went through rehab, though. And when you go through 12-step programs, man, 9 times out of 10, they graft a Bible to your hand. Because those are Christian organizations, 12-step programs are. So my assumption would be Bill Ward is probably a believer. And Ozzy Osbourne's been in and out of rehab a number of times, too. So it wouldn't surprise me for him to have cracked open a Bible and been a little bit more of a believer than people think. I'm not going to, make a declarative statement on it. I do know I used to listen to Alice Cooper's radio show back in the day, and I think he had Ozzy on, and they talked about belief and religion and stuff a little bit. It was a really fascinating conversation. Two legends. Talk about, two legends. Alice Cooper and Ozzy having a conversation. And of course, Alice Cooper, we all know, is a devout Christian. Sweaty Zeus Gaming, elected Republicans have to stop prostrating themselves for Israel. They can support them, but need to temper the zeal. Very out of step. I completely agree. What about you, Taryn?
No, 100%. Right now, we need America first politicians and leaders.
Exactly. To me, it's like, even if I were a politician and an Israeli, I'd be like, hey, we're united, we stand, we're in support, whatever. That does not mean, hey, let's underwrite a $50 billion check to Israel, especially when the IDF are just stone cold killers, for crying out loud. They're like they're absolute assassins in terms of a world military. They're legendary for that reason. They don't need as much help as some other countries do. I don't buy it. That money would be better spent at home, or if it can't be for some reason spent at home, it'd be better served trying to shore up one of our protectorates. Taiwan is going to need some of that very shortly here, folks. Agamemnon Fireman, follow up to Taryn. I watched the first half of Bubblegum Crisis last night with my mom and loved it. Going to buy the Blu-ray on your guys' recommendation. Hey, that's a good one.
Awesome. Glad to hear it.
Nice. Dude, you can't go wrong with 80s, early 90s anime cyberpunk, right? There was just
the best
stream from Ghost in the Shell to Akira to Bubblegum Crisis to even like mecha stuff, Metal Skin Panic and all that kind. Dude, you cannot go wrong with it. Oh, one of my favorites is a short film you need to watch. I think it's free on YouTube. The Running Man. Not the Schwarzenegger film, but the anime short film. A cyberpunk racing movie. The animation in it, to me, is still unparalleled. I don't think anything has equaled it. It's mind-blowing. And that was late 80s, I believe.
And if he's still here, I'd love to recommend my absolute favorite area.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Netflix adaptation of Blame.
No. Area, the
Zerum, the anime, yeah.
Zerum, the animation. Yes.
Yep.
That one's my absolute favorite. I got the Blu-ray right over there. I'm looking right at it.
Yeah. Michael Laterno, you've mentioned China's influence in Palestine. Well, they have influence in any communist country, and the government of Palestine is mostly Marxist-Leninist. They have a complicated government structure, but the PLO has Marxist-Leninist roots and is a Marxist-Leninist entity. I was surprised to hear that because after the failure of the Soviet-Afghan war, I figured the communists would have stayed away from the Islamists. China have a different philosophy with regard to, like, they kind of run the Comintern, but they don't call it the Comintern. But they do a lot of the same things as the Comintern. And I think it's safe to say at this point, they are in a weird way even more interventionist than the Soviets were at their nadir. It's kind of wild, but they're more subtle about the influence. That's the difference. They have their fingers in a lot of pies, but they're very, very careful about how they go about it. It's very indirect. It's like how China compromised the Biden family. They didn't enrich Biden. They didn't pay him off. They paid off his relatives. Look at Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden was the ideal patsy for communist China. So they plied him with Chinese hookers and enriched him with oil deals and all kinds of crazy stuff just to put money in his pocket because they wanted those favors for Biden and they wanted Biden to be compromised. This is how China operates. It's much more subtle. It's not quite the blunt hammer that the Soviet Union was at its height. All right. Cesario, Bubblegum Crisis is greater than AD Police. It's greater than BGC 2040. It's greater than AD Police TV. Parasite Dolls. Bubblegum Crash. I formalized the BGC franchise for you folks. Well, Godspeed. Agamemnon, you mentioned that Rhino Cornyn is going to blow out Colin Allred because it's Texas, but I think Ken Paxton is going to primary him. Hope it works. I hope it works too. I hate Cornyn. How do you feel about that, Mr. Texas?
I got no idea who these people are.
John Cornyn, you don't know? Really? You don't know? All right. Yep. Thank you very much, Primarch Vulcan. E.g. the Groundhog. Razor's Tism is showing with the infographics. Yeah, I apologize. But, you know, we get accused a lot of, he makes a lot of jokes, so he never gets in-depth on a particular topic. First off, tell that to my 2+ hour McCarthy video. Blow it out your ass. And second, we get very in-depth on a lot of things. It's just that I happen to like dick jokes too. All right? So I like hardcore information bracketed by dick and tranny jokes. And if you don't like it, you can just leave. All right, let's see here. Jonathan English. I donated to Brandon Herrera's campaign to unseat Gonzalez. Good man. Agamemnon Fireman. Ernst, I believe, is not seeking re-election, though. They're not sure. They're not sure. It's still up in the air. That's why we could only make the prediction based on the available candidates thus far, right? So, but if she does, I think she wins. Embattled as she is, I think she wins. All right. Cal, Yanks ruin their own states and flee south. You ain't lying. Oh, one last one from a state before we move on to the next story. Mage Leader, as a Mainer, I can assure you that even if Collins wins, you might as well paint the state blue. She's one of the worst rhinos in the U.S. You're not telling lies, dude. You're not telling lies. Maine is very, very competitive. It's a weird race. That's why I said, like, it's kind of an all eyes on Maine situation, because here she is, like, running for her 6th term, senior senator, vastly overperformed Trump in 2020. A lot of people expecting her to steamroll. But, man, she's unpopular, and with good reason, right? She's treacherous, a shitbag. None of us like Susan Collins. But, you know, speaking of state-by-state races, there may be a cure for California. Taryn, do you have that story?
Oh. Sorry, I brought up the wrong
We
story.
talked last week about Gavin Newsom rigging his districting even harder than normal. Well, surprise, surprise, in immediate response to that, there were viable calls for a 2-state solution in California to free conservative areas from the yoke of toothsome Newsom.
Yeah, I've got a
why don't-
solution. It's called Operation Main Strike.
Yep.
Two-state solution plan proposes dividing California to free more conservative areas. Plan would allow inland counties again to have impact on their governments.
Yeah.
Let's scroll down past the supervillain there. Republicans in California.
What's faker, you figure? The hair or the teeth?
Yes.
Okay.
Republicans in California are a minority, often measuring in the 30% range when votes are counted. Even so, they're still underrepresented in Congress, as some 80% of the state's delegation is Democrat.
Yes, this is one of the things I hastened to point out last week on the offensive, is that even in red states, Republicans do gerrymander, but they're shitty at it. So blue state, red state, it doesn't matter. Republicans across the board in every single state in America are underrepresented by the districting process. So Gavin Newsom, when he says he's going to rig the districting system even more, he's going to gerrymander even harder. What he's basically saying is we're not rigging hard enough. He's already got an independent commission that is overwhelmingly biased toward Democrats, and he wants it to be even more biased. He literally wants it to be the state engine of the Democratic Party, which it already is, essentially. But Republicans, make no mistake, are underrepresented both in California and all over the country. Red state, blue state, doesn't matter. Republicans are underrepresented in freaking Alabama.
That means they vote futilely in elections, as the majority party always gets its way.
Mm-hmm.
But there could be a solution, as Republicans are calling for a change, which would require the approval of Congress to create a second state made up of California's 35 inland counties.
Yep.
I want to take a step back from all the chaos we had and talk about the forgotten people of California, Assembly Minority Leader James Gallagher confirmed.
Yeah.
According to a Center Square report, Gallagher and others are working on an Assembly Joint Resolution 23 known as the Two-State Solution.
That's just hilarious. I'm sorry. In the middle of all the Israel-Palestine stuff, to call this the two-state solution is damn hilarious. Anyway, sorry. It tickles me in all my no-no places.
It would allow the creation of the state under Article Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution and would require approval by the state assembly and Senate, as well as Congress. Democrats hold supermajorities in both houses of the legislature, meaning Republicans would have to sway a number of Democrats to back it. The Center Square documented.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find the California secession map so you can see what this would look like.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They released this recently.
Oh, while you're looking, should I...
Yes, please continue.
Residents of those inland counties now feel they're victims of the policies of the Democrats in the state, the report said.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is about the trucker in the Inland Empire who is told he has to get rid of his truck because of the regulations in the state. I think of the single mom who's trying to get by when the rent's too high and gets her PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric bill,
Mm-hmm.
which once again is increased and struggles to get into that first house because costs are way too high, Gallagher explained. Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah.
He explained secession is appropriate because the Democrat legislature has done nothing to make the state more affordable.
No kidding, dude.
No lies detected.
None.
Did you find that map?
I think I did. There we go. It's kind of small. Here, but let me see if I can bring her up.
The rent is too damn high.
It's too damn high. There we go. All right, let's bring this over here. And
I heard something the other week that someone visited California and that they got a bottle of water and it was $6.
Dude, you ever been to a concert? That's not too far off from the norm in some location. This is apparently the proposed map right here.
Wow, they get most of the coast. Wow, isn't that something?
Funny, the closer they are to China. It's very, very odd. I don't know what that don't know what that means. The closer they are to China and Mexico. Very, very strange. Odd. But this is the same proposed map that I saw earlier in the week. If anybody knows of another one, do please point it out. But I believe this is it. What is this? How does this grab you?
See, if you follow that blue line, the border all the way down, that's exactly where we need to place all the explosives.
Yes! Right along the San Andreas Fault. Somebody ring up Christopher Walken, for Christ's sake. Jeez. Oh, I don't know how I feel about. I mean, it's not going to happen. It's just flat out not going to happen.
Democrats get something done? No, never.
Well, Republicans get something done. Let's be real. Jeez.
Republicans getting something done or anything done in California.
Not happening. Not in California. Not much of anywhere.
Oh, that's right. That's almost the exact line that Lex Luthor drew in the original Superman movie.
Yep. It's reported but not confirmed yet that Ernst isn't seeking re-election. Also, Godspeed, Taryn and Razor. Yeah, like I said, the rumors have been flying around that Ernst isn't seeking re-election. So based on the available candidates, that's what the aggregate is based on. Like I said at the beginning, I wasn't pulling these numbers out of my ass. These were based on the existing aggregates, which are flawed for a number of reasons, but they are flawed in favor of Democrats. All right. Commander Wolf, I hope Illinois turns red. Lots of folks fed up with the Prince. Everything close to Chicago is blue, but everything else is full on red in the state. But with Chicago under their heel, yeah, safe bet it'll be blue for sure. Necromancer, I think Scott is paying more attention to the states he helped flip. This doesn't make him wrong. I agree. I think that's what he is paying attention to. I think there's other pollsters, like Rich Barris, who I like. I like Richard Barris a lot, but he's based out of Florida, I believe. And I think sometimes he's looking at Moody and whatnot in Florida, and he's like, how are we not more competitive than this? And whatever. I think that may be a factor, is people are a little close to some of these races that are not likely to go well. And so they're sounding the alarm bells. And I get that. When I was sitting there watching the Martha McSally train wreck in slow motion, I felt the exact same way. Right? It's maddening when you see a race local to you that should be going better than it is, but is destined for the dustbin of history, right? It absolutely drives you up the damn wall. Pizza Mean taking all bets. First country in Europe to actually solve their invasion problem. My guess is Britain. My guess is Italy. What about yours, Taryn?
I'm getting good vibes from Italy. The new prime minister, she's got a good head on her shoulders. At the beginning there, I was a little shaky on her, but I think the more she's in office, she sees how bad it actually is.
Right. Yep. I
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Did you happen to see the recent article on her where she just shits all over Macron?
No.
Oh, I should look that up.
Please do. Please do.
Great.
I didn't hear about this. I would have added it to the list. My goodness.
Hold on. I'll look. I'll read a few.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. The thing that's wild to me about the two-state solution. The thing that's wild to me about the two-state solution is suddenly secession's allowed. You know what I mean? Suddenly we're allowed to talk about secession. Suddenly, we were told for years secession couldn't be allowed ahead of the Civil War, that no matter what, it wasn't defensible, even though the states are sovereign and created the federal government. Therefore, it is subservient to them, right? the thing I love about the possibility here presents itself that we may finally have a civil war that is actually fought over slavery, but it's third world wage slavery from illegal aliens. That's the best part of all this. I am going to bring up the other one here. Speaking of illegal aliens, speaking of wage slavery. Shoot, actually, I can bring this up on my own screen and I'll go ahead and read it myself. Yes, sir. Thank you all for joining us. We are going to get to all your super chats and all that good stuff. Don't you worry. We're having a blast here on Labor Day, thumbing our nose and lifting our middle fingers at Labor Day, the communist holiday ever. There we go.
Oh, and I found mine too, so.
Democrat Representative John Larson calls on Americans to rise up against Gestapo ICE agents. This is a time for good trouble, he says. This is a time for Americans to rise up, Larson can be heard telling a crowd at the rally. Larson then declared ICE agents to be like Nazi Germany's secret police. Boy, that's not an overwrought and historical analogy, huh? I can't get too enough of Nazi comparisons. This is not Germany. That's the SS and the Gestapo, Larson said. This is the United States of America. Unmask yourselves. That's an interesting word from a Democratic representative. How long
New
were they
tonight, members
forcing us
across
to have-
several communities gathered to speak out on recent ICE detainments across the state. Newsdate's Bob Wilson has more on what they are calling for and how the federal government is responding.
This is a time for good trouble. This is a time for Americans to rise up.
It was an emotional rally full of anger and frustration and sadness and fear. 7 people were seized by ICE over the weekend, 2 women and 5 men at a car wash on Main Street in Newington.
What is this? Oh, this journalistic trash, dude. 7 people were seized. It's a time for terror. What is this news report? Ugh.
Congressman John Larson compared these ICE tactics to Nazi Germany.
Representative and Jim Henson Creature Shop character. What the fuck is that? Didn't that thing train Luke Skywalker?
This is not Germany. That's the SS and the Gestapo. This is the United States of America. Unmask yourselves.
While this rally is going
You know who else pounded his fist on a podium and yelled a lot? I'm just saying.
It's the same guy who lifted up the
National
watermelon and took a bite out of it.
That guy. That guy.
Guard has been called up, and the border czar says 1,700 of those troops will be deployed to 19 different.
What is this outfit? A vest and an open formal shirt and rolled up sleeves? What are you, dressed for a tap recital? What the hell is it?
Different states continue to aid with the roundup, and while they won't be making physical arrests, they will be present on the ground helping out.
We got almost 700,000 illegal aliens that we're
sorry. Brief round of applause, RazörForce, for Tom Homan.
Hold on, I just want to comment.
Yes.
As was the style at the time.
As was the style at the time.
fine. So National Guard is their support function. They're a force multiplier.
The swiftness with which it's all happened. These people were picked up in minutes. And within those minutes, after those minutes had passed, we now have no information.
This man is a facial mole in search of a man. Look at this. Does he not look like every... Does he not look like every cliche of a concerned pro-illegal alien lib?
Information about where they are, who they are.
Local leaders say the raids are creating fear and uncertainty in the community, especially as this week is back to school for most students.
High quality
Young children that are left without their parents.
Those are high quality pre-printed signs right there, Taryn.
Yeah.
Somebody in their grassroots garage headquartered movement must have a printing machine somewhere. It's
also rather suspicious that they won't really pan across the crowd. It's like I've only seen maybe a couple of dozen people.
Yeah. Well, let's hear what Velma has to say about Scooby and the gang.
Classmates and the teachers in their schools that are starting to hear about what happened and are really concerned. Like, why are the kids not coming to school?
And there have been other deportation roundups.
Because they're illegals!
Across the state, including Southington at another car wash and another woman in New Haven.
We need answers right now.
The Trump administration says they are targeting people who have broken the law while illegally in this country.
We are.
Hold on. Lady, that hairpiece. I'm just saying.
In Newington, Bob Wilson, News 8.
Oh, it's nice to hear from the party about Nazism that openly implemented snitch lines to report your 80-year-old neighbor for daring to depart her home without a Huggies diaper grafted to her fucking face. Tell us more about authoritarianism and Nazism, hipster Himmler. Fucking hell. How does this grab you, Taryn?
Well, it's the same shit we saw during the lockdowns. Remember, I forget which news channel it was. It was probably CNN. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and just call that there. There was this protest that they were covering, and the news guy was standing right there, and there's a huge crowd behind him. And then someone sent in like a cell phone picture taken from an apartment looking down at the newscast. And it's like a dozen people standing behind the reporter, and you could see the camera crew and everything, and the street's like abandoned.
Oh yeah.
It's just more of that shit.
Yeah. I remember there was supposed to be, after Liberation Day, there was supposed to be a great big hate Trump rally in downtown Phoenix, and they advertised it everywhere, and they freaking wallpapered and whatever. And I had to head in that direction that day for some reason. I forget if I had to go to the DMV or something. So I was going to have to drive past. Took a slight detour, went to the street corner where they were supposed to be. Abandoned. Not even a small crowd, guys.
Yeah.
The street corner had no one on it. This thing was advertised on Facebook. It was I saw flyers for this thing. They freaking talked about it on the news. No one showed up. You see this all the time. But hey, if you have difficulty with the idea of deportation, Mr. Larson, just try imagining that the United States is Martha's Vineyard, and then I think it'll grab you a little better on that one.
Oh yeah.
To me, that's still the high water mark for Ron DeSantis.
Oh my God, was that DeSantis who did that, or was that?
You got to give the man his flowers on that one. That was based.
For those who don't remember, it was a couple of years ago. Sent up a busload of illegals up to Martha's Vineyard.
Yep.
A combined 2 buses, and I think 50 illegal immigrants, maybe not even that much, got off those buses. They called in the National Guard to remove them. 50 people.
Oh, and
not 500, not 150, 50. Jesus Christ.
Dustin the Grim here in Louisiana. Bill Cassidy's about as popular as a root canal performed by a blind man. He's toast. I can see that. Thank you very much, Jacob Castro, for joining us on Rumble. We are, of course, streaming over there. See, Stryker, what's funny to me is the people who make those who call out communism out to be stuck in the past fuddy-duddies when communist countries still exist, and they won't shut up about Nazis and fascists. Thank you very, very... Not to mention their definition of fascists and Nazis is, shall we say, surprisingly permissive. If somebody forgets to put stevia in your coffee at Starbucks, fascist! Dude, I should have downloaded the clip of King of the Hill. That's still my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
The hippie chick. Hey, can I have some money? No. Fascist. That's just communism in a nutshell. Just right there. Sorry, I did the Donald Trump.
We got a few more Rumble rants. Let me read through those real quick.
Yes, sir.
Logan. People like him need the crazy house. Eating puppies and drugged up as a kite.
Yep.
Dee Dee. Hail, Chief Flipping Bird and midterm life crisis gal. I've considered issues with AI impersonation and wondered if physical tape recordings might make a return to prove authenticity. Thoughts?
Probably you'll wind up with a program, ironically, that will be that will be aided by AI, that will be used to verify the authenticity of a recording. But more likely, it'll be a Band-Aid solution like that, because people are stupid like that. People are really stupid like that.
Dangerous Spaces. He killed 2 children. She killed 2 children, you bigots. Jake Tapper. Possibly the worst part of gender affirmation is if you won't explore that mental illness, you'll miss more serious issues.
Big Mike, the Southwest will rise again. Thank you, sir.
Matt G. Hammond, supposedly Lindsey Graham has 40% approval rating in South Carolina. He is getting a strong primary challenge from Paul Dance, who wrote parts of Project 2025.
Yep. And I'd like it to be that, but I'm sorry, guys. I think Lindsey Graham's your guy. I think he's winning.
Inland Surfer.
And all the aggregates thus far point in that direction. But again, year and a half away from this stuff. There's a lot that could happen. These are not predictions. This is where we sit right now. As I don't need to belabor the point. I've already said it like 3 times, but
Inland Surfer, Adam Lanza, the Newtown, Connecticut shooter, was a mental case. His mother actually left the gun safe unlocked, since Connecticut has become the most restrictive gun law state in the U.S.
Yep.
And another one here from Ruron. Seems a lot of speakers at America Fest 2025 are actually MAGA or even true populists. Why do you think they don't invite Laura Loomer, or even better, invite Razor?
Or better yet, invite a human. Yes. Godspeed. Who knows? The world may never know.
And Kuda says, who made that map? Lex Luthor?
Right. Rest in peace, Graham Greene. Godspeed. All right. The Grizzly, how long do you think it takes the Democrats to become just a regional party? Are they even capable of any introspection at this juncture? Well, you've now got states that were battlegrounds just a few election cycles ago. We talked about Florida, dude. 2012, Florida went for Obama.
Isn't that crazy?
It went for Obama in 2012. And here we are in 2025, and it is just out of pocket. Like, it's not even, they don't have a wing and a prayer. They got a weak candidate running over there, and she's going to slam dunk it. Just is what it is. That's where we're at. So they're kind of arcing in that direction already. If the Democrats do not begin to recognize that they can't just appeal to people in major cities, that is not a viable path to the White House because the Electoral College exists, then yeah, they're ultimately going to be a regional party, and it'll be funny because the regions that they will have control of will only be major cities. That's it. And Republicans can kill that by pushing state-level Electoral College. Watch my video on this subject. I stand by every word of it. It's aged rather well. So thank you, Grizzly, for that one. Jonathan English, how would they react if you had a no Politburo or no 5-year plan signed? One wonders. One really does wonder. Major Leader adds something to the Maine discussion, something else that makes Maine interesting. Press X to doubt. Our Dems aren't as blue as many other places. For instance, our gun culture is so strong that we struck down a red flag law even after the Lewiston shooting. Interesting. Copper Owl, I agree with this. I think Taryn Gell would agree with this as well. Rename the California plan to Operation Main Strike.
Yes.
Microchips. Marussia Dark, God Konging Speed, rares their fist. Godspeed, bro. I hope you enjoyed. Yes, I hope you enjoyed the Donkey Kong Bonanza review. I said faggot in it, so it's really not being sent to people's subscription boxes.
You meant bundle of sticks. You meant
no
bundle of
regrets.
sticks. I put up the pictures of bundles of sticks.
No regrets. No regrets. No regrets. Oh. John Orchard, maybe we need a Ghost of the Badlands. By the way, love the story. When's the next issue? Godspeed. Saw your McCarthy vid. Changed my entire view of him in a good way. I appreciate that. Working on Ghost of the Badlands. 2 separate scripts are already done. So we had an artist set up, and then I got an offer from an artist who's actually in Europe with some pre-existing repute, who is a lot closer in art style to what I actually want in the next volume of Ghost of the Badlands. So that's kind of what's holding stuff up, is I found an even better artist, basically. I'm a perfectionist, I'm sorry, and I had a very particular idea of what I wanted Ghost of the Badlands to look like. And so, George came really, really close to that. I loved his art, but it was never quite what I wanted. It was, it was just a Tumblr click away from exactly what I wanted. So, if we're changing artists, why not go for the whole shebang, I say. I probably should play the trailer or something for you guys, but Cal, we get flooded with the Yanks in VA. Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. Florida goes Jeb. Thank you, Animate Acumen. I agree. Susan Collins is hot trash. Oh, let's not forget Angus King, burning rubbish. Speaking of burning rubbish, dude, we skipped over a story that we need to talk about. The Raja Jackson shit.
Yeah, we do.
We have got to talk about this, bro. We have got to talk about this. Not so much the event itself, because I think it's been talked out a little bit. Raja Jackson, the son of an established guy.
Rampage Jackson.
There was a wrestling show, Knox Pro. It's Rikishi's promotion, sort of indirectly affiliated with the WWE as part of the WWE ID program. A guy by the name of Psycho Stu had bopped Raja Jackson on the head very lightly, if you watch it, with a beer bottle. It was totally worked. And Raja Jackson got so all up in his feels, he decided to commit murder in front of rolling video cameras. We won't show that because it is a murder attempt, but we will show one of the stupidest things I have ever heard in my entire life, and that is Mark Henry weighing in on the issue. This is directly from TMZ. Oh, be still my flowing vomit. Play this.
Well, I mean, I say that's what happens when people are not experienced to our business. And you have to be fully educated. You got to be fully trained. And people think that that's something that's not prevalent. But like when I came into wrestling in 95, 96, I had a lot of the same issues. I didn't like the ribbing. I didn't like the joking.
Hold on. He had the same issues like attempting murder in a wrestling ring? Because that's the issue. That's the issue. Was there an instance, Mark Henry, where you were barely bopped on the back of the head by a plastic water bottle? By let's be honest, a worked beer can or worked beer bottle. And then you decided to commit murder in the middle of a wrestling ring? Because I must have missed that back in 1996. I don't know about you, Taryn. You remember that from a pay-per-view? Maybe in your house, too?
We all know that if your experiences with WWF, maybe you saw, what was his name? Nation of Domination. I'm forgetting his name real quick.
It was a can. Thank you very much. It was a can. It was a beer can.
Who was the leader of Nation Domination? Real quick, fucking Farouk. Sorry, I don't know why I forgot his name. He would go hard on some people. His clotheslines were hard as hell. So were Bradshaw. It can get pretty real in the ring.
Oh yeah, Ahmed Johnson, dude. Ahmed Johnson wounded Farouk, so Farouk wounded Ahmed Johnson. Fucked up his kidneys. A lot of people aren't aware of this, but he kicked Ahmed Johnson so hard in the kidneys, he had kidney failure. He had to get surgery and like all kinds of. He still struggles with it to this day.
When that happens, it's usually one hit, maybe two. People get mad, but this was premeditated. If we're not going to show it, We're not going to show any of the footage.
No, we don't need to.
But this guy, he takes a bump. He says, "Okay, you're part of the act. You know, you'll get your chance. You'll run into the ring, and you'll get some hits in. But they're not. They're expecting like open hand hits, or where your palms are like open and empty.
Yeah,
and you get some fake hits in.
Look,
No,
you're giving, when you step into a wrestling ring, you are giving another person your body and your bodily well-being. You are trusting them not to murder the shit out of you. Because as we learned with Owen Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin, sometimes when there's a mistake, Stone Cold Steve Austin he's lucky to be walking today after that tombstone pile driver from Owen Hart. Snapped his freaking neck.
But Raja Jackson runs into the ring, gets Psycho Stu down, and then just starts to wail on his head as hard as possible with both fists. Mm-hmm. That's not pulling punches. That's not a work. That is attempted murder. He took advantage of a situation.
Thank you. Yes, Razor makes wrestling sound gay. I mean, if the cock sock fits, I'm just saying.
Did you want me
continue playing? Let's hear this retardation.
And anybody that talked to me that I didn't think was worthy of having that kind of aggressive conversation, they got that work.
They got that work.
I don't know the full story, but I do know what I saw. And it looked like he wasn't smart to what was going on. And the dude that was messing with him bit off more than he can chew.
What?
And
what, with an aluminum can?
One, who you mess with, and two, like what kind of example are you as a veteran for inciting a ride with a kid?
Okay, you can pause it there, dude. That we don't need to hear. I guess this is why they don't call him the world's smartest man. Holy shit. He just blamed the dude who damn near got murdered in the middle of a ring for bopping a dude with an aluminum can. I would remind you, Stone Cold Steve Austin hit just about everybody in the head with an aluminum can full of Miller Lite. Remember that shit?
Yeah.
He was hitting people with that shit all the time because it would explode and it looked really cool on TV. Remember that? I guess by this rationale from Ham Slamwich here, The Rock should have just immediately double leg taked him down him and then just beaten him within an inch of his life until he was brain dead. The fuck? I'd tell Mark Henry to eat shit, but I think the headbangers already took care of that. If you know, you know. Mark Henry once ate a shit sandwich. True story. But that's true. But it's always, I don't know. It's just nice when a calm, articulate fella like Mark can take a calm, articulate stand in defense of fucking homicide. I find this heartwarming, don't you, Taryn?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I need an antacid.
No, true story. I wish you could find a clip of it. I couldn't find one before the stream, but Mark Henry had done something to the headbangers. They pissed them off. And either Chaz or Thrasher, one of the two, decided Mark Henry had a meatball marinara sub backstage. And I know exactly what it was. I've heard this story. And he points to the headbangers. He says, "This is my sandwich. Nobody touch this. Nobody touch," like a retard. He's about to go out and work a match. He's not going to be able to watch this sandwich. He's about to go out into the ring. So he reads in the riot act, "Don't you dare mess with my sandwich. This is mine. Don't you eat my sandwich. This is mine." So he goes to work a match, and freaking Thrasher and Mosh take a shit in his meatball sub, and the dude eats it. That's the best. He eats it. So if you watch the Generation X skit where they made fun of the Nation of Domination, in addition to X-Pac wearing full blackface, it's one of the greatest things you've ever seen in your life, X-Pac says, "Ooh, I think I smell what The Rock is cooking. Oh, wait, that's just shit. Guess I'll eat it." And nobody at home watching knew what that was in reference to, but we know now. Mark Henry ate shit backstage at an episode of Raw. Anyway, so continuing on. Oh, hey, you've got the clip of Joseph Maloney. Let's do it.
Let me enlarge this. Oh, yeah, let's read the top here. The Prime Minister, Maloney, exposed Macron for fully supporting the invasion of Europe by illegal aliens.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Macron ci ha definiti vomitevoli, cinici, irresponsabili. E qui la stampa italiana a dire, hai visto che ha detto Macron, che siamo irresponsabili. Vergogna. Irresponsabili Emmanuel Macron sono quelli che hanno bombardato la Libia perché gli dava fastidio che l'Italia avesse un rapporto privilegiato in campo energetico con Gheddafi.
Okay, can you pause that for a second? I love when an Italian gets pissed. Italian is the language of anger. I wish I could speak Italian. I really need to learn it. It's especially brilliant, dude.
Especially an Italian woman.
Yes. Oh,
never piss off an Italian woman.
Oh, this is poetry. This is pure pottery. Pure pottery. Let's hear the rest.
Caos migrazione nel quale ci troviamo. Cinici Emmanuel Macron sono i francesi che mandano la gendarmerie a rispedire indietro qualunque immigrato tenti di passare il confine a Ventimiglia. Ma soprattutto perché le cose vanno raccontate come si deve, vomitevole è chi... Buono, che lo vuoi tu? Ci hai mai tolto il pathos?
She didn't just say disgusting there. I think that meant vomitously disgusting.
E chi, come la Francia, continua a sfruttare l'Africa stampando moneta per 14 nazioni africane sulle quali applica il signoraggio, facendo lavorare bambini nelle miniere, estraendo materie prime come accade in Niger, dove la Francia estrae il 30% dell'uranio che gli serve a far camminare le centrali nucleari e il 90% dei nigerini vive senza elettricità. Non ci venire a fare lezioni, Macron, perché l'Africa scappa da voi e la soluzione non è spostare gli africani in Europa, è liberare l'Africa da certi europei.
Shit! Damn. I have not watched the entire thing.
Oh, I'd say that's the hardest a woman has ever hit Macron, but I mean, we've seen his wife. Wow.
Non accettiamo lezioni. Chiaro?
Holy shit. Dude, it is Italian. It's a poetic language for anger. My goodness. That's a spicy meatball. Thank you for sharing that, sir.
Yes, that stood out to me.
We do, before we close out here, a name from the past.
Oh, yes.
Anybody remember the name? Shiloh Hendrix. We thought it was over. She raised almost $1 million on crowdfunding, which I don't think she necessarily needed that high of a figure. But everybody kind of rallied around her after she dropped a spicy gamer word on somebody who was creeping on her kid. Who knows what was going on with that situation? We never really got that full story. And so she raised some money, whatever. We thought the matter rose and fell there. But of course, in the age of cancel culture, it never rises and falls there, does it? It's always a multi-part serial, and you'll always have the left strikes back. And now they're doxing her. They're harassing her. It's looking like, well, you'll explain, I guess, as we read through here. You were going to say something, Taryn?
No. I was just agreeing with you. I will read the article here.
Yes, please do.
Very dire. Huh?
There is another part of this saga, and they're basically the long and short of it is they're not leaving her alone.
Very dire situation. White mom now faces criminal charges for calling black boy the N-word at playground.
Yep.
My social security number has been leaked. My address and phone number have been given out freely. My family members are being attacked. My eldest child may not be going back to school. Even where I exercise has been exposed. A white Minnesota mother.
Minnesota again. God, what a failed state Minnesota is at this point.
Really
Go ahead.
There's really no reason to live there anymore.
No.
Like it has fallen.
It's Minnesota. They don't call it that for no reason. And when Obama was importing all those Somalis, and that was a directed effort to turn Minnesota permanently blue. Make no mistake about it. That was a directed political effort. That's why that refugee program was initiated. People were saying, hey, this is going to affect the state. This is not good. You got to stop doing it. And it was all shouted down with cries of racism. All of it. All of it. And you can see this is the fruit of that. Go ahead and read, rather.
A white Minnesota mother will face criminal charges for calling a young black child the N-word after a youngster was allegedly stealing from her own child's belongings at a public playground. Video of the April incident went viral, and on Tuesday, the Rochester City Attorney's Office said it intends to file 3 counts of disorderly conduct against Shiloh Hendrix.
Not only is she being doxxed, not only is she being harassed, authorities are going after her and not the thief that went after her child.
While the charges are still subject to review and approval by a district court judge, the legal complaint concludes Shiloh wrongfully and unlawfully engaged in offensive, obscene, abusive, boisterous, and noisy conduct. That's a stretch. Or in offensive, obscene, or abusive language that would reasonably tend to arouse alarm, anger, or resentment in others. Wow, this is a stretch.
Boisterous or noisy conduct. This is nice. This sets a precedent. Can I convict the entire audience of a Tyler Perry film or like an entire Apollo Theater audience? Can I? Jesus Christ.
Hendrix.
I'm still kind of pissed this woman almost got $1 million for saying the N-word, though. Here I am like a sucker saying it for free.
Hendrix could face a maximum of 90 days in jail and or $1,000 fine.
Yep.
We won't play that.
No, we won't. No,
I will save it for later, though.
Yeah. That's for your personal consumption later.
The mom created a Give, Send, Go donation page for herself, saying she has been put into a very dire situation. I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old's son diaper bag at a park. I called the kid out for what he was.
Okay, I'm donating to her just for that comment. I'm sorry. I was on the fence. But this woman just earned my $5. Yeah.
Another man who we recently found out has had a history with law enforcement proceeded to record me and follow me to my car. He then posted these videos online, which has caused my family and myself great turmoil.
Jesus Christ.
My social security.
It's not enough that her life was going to be over regardless in the age of cancel culture, because you're going to be harassed to the ends of the earth. You're going to be harassed. You're going to be doxxed. It's going to be hard to get employment in the place where you move to. I mean, there's a million reasons why her life is going to be subpar from this point forward. You have to stack on top of that the weaponization of the government against her. And really? Really? That's where we're at. Ridiculous. Anyway, continue.
I actually already read all that. It was in the title of the article.
Yeah, right.
As of Tuesday, more than $800,000 has been collected online for Hendrix.
Yep. I'm just, man.
After receiving criticism, Jacob Wells, the CFO of Give, Send, Go, defended his platform, allowing Hendrix to raise money for her plight.
Wow, rare occurrence there, man. We're starting to see that happen here and there, though, a little bit now. You know, these back in 2016 or something, these websites would have folded like an accordion. But
oh yeah, you're a Trump supporter, we're going to debank you.
Yeah, little by little, we're starting to see a company here, a company there. The jeans controversy, the great jeans controversy with Sydney Sweeney recently, right? That whole thing. They didn't apologize. They did not apologize in the aftermath. My question in the entire case, somebody pointed this out. What was it with the cameraman? I'm trying to find the comment. Yeah, cameraman was a pedo. My question in this entire case has always been like, what the pan-fried fuck was Haji over there trying to do with this woman's kid on a public playground? Like, is this even a question I want answered? That's always been my question. And to me, everybody's like talking about how we have to talk about how her life is kind of over and cancel culture and how she's got to move and raising money and whatever. But honestly, it's all kind of a side issue. What was this guy trying to do to her kid? Why is there no talk of this person being prosecuted or even talked to? What the hell? And this is another, like, what is with people caught in a criminal act deciding to whip out their smartphone and record their prospective victim? Like, we just saw this last week. We didn't even talk about the Dodhead over in Scotland.
Yeah.
Right?
I was going to ask if we had even talked about the Scottish girl.
We didn't. We couldn't even get to it. There's so many news stories this week, but like the freaking asshole over in Scotland, and now this mealy mouth moon cricket. Like, what's the gotcha exactly, asshole? Like, aha, I caught you being victimized by me. Like, I just don't freaking get, and it's happening more and more. It's happening more and more.
Let's continue here. He said, you have to take a step back from the emotion of these because they are very highly emotional issues, and you land on a principle. I believe in freedom of speech, freedom of association. Those are foundational tenets to the society in which that we live in. And when you start going down the road of cancellation and cancel culture, it actually breaks the very things that we see that we're against.
Yep. Absolutely.
Wells explained some folks have developed a mob mentality, which has ruined so many people's lives. Adding Hendrix did not act unprovoked on the playground.
Yeah.
The boy was rummaging through her belongings, so it's not like she stepped into the situation unprovoked and called a young boy a term, Wells noted before, adding, does not condone calling people racial epithets and bad names at all.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you have a defense shooting and the prosecution, because they'll always try and prosecute you for defending your own life, tries to point out you maybe said something afterward, take that, or something. Like, dude, defense shootings are ugly, but it's just a form of conflict. The same thing happens in situations like this where two people are in conflict. Adrenaline gets going, you're pissed off, you're going to say things in the moment, in the heat of that moment, that are not going to be flattering to you, right? That's reality. That's how this is. I want to know what this person did ahead of time in order to initiate this confrontation. I don't care what their words. I don't give a shit. I do not give a shit. What happened to initiate this? That's what bothers me. Filipino white boy. I've been seeing a lot of rumors Trump is dead. He just golfed yesterday. Just because he hasn't tweeted much or been seen in 5 days. That blows my mind. We didn't even talk about that AstroTurf bullshit. What did you think of that when that was going down, dude?
Oh, what? The whole Trump is dead thing? No, he was gone for like a day and a half, and it's completely AstroTurfed. 100%. It's bots online. It's all fake. All of it.
All of it.
It's supposed to be demoralizing. That's it.
Yeah, it's gotta be. It's gotta be. It just, what I don't understand is, Biden would be disappeared for 2 weeks at a time. He'd come back and he'd have like dengue fever and anal boils visible. You know what I mean? Like he'd have whooping cough, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's fit as a fiddle. God, he's fine." He's shuffling around. He's calling the White House janitor Jimmy Carter. You know what I mean? Like he's completely demented and out of his. And then Trump is missing for what, 2 days? He's not even missing. He's posting photos. He's tweeting. He just, oh, sorry, he's dead. He had a massive heart attack. Dude, it's such an op. What drives me nuts is when people ostensibly on the right signal boost this, and you know who you are if you did this. There were so many right-wing podcasters who were pushing this. I called one of them out on social media. I'm not going to blare his name out so he gets shit on even more, but I ratioed this little asshat because he was running with this for the clickbait. And this is the problem. Some people rush to press so fast. Like, I love that we have alternative media, but Jesus H. Christ, can you verify? Can you even apply common sense or any kind of know-how to your punditry? Just the tiniest incremental amount. That's all we're asking for. Because an awful lot of people on the right reported this unironically. It was almost as if they were hoping for it. You're going to step in something, ultimately, that you're not going to be able to take back. We saw this with the Israel-Iran thing recently where, we're going to have boots on the ground inside of a day. Ian Carroll still hasn't acknowledged that he was full of shit on that. Like, it's just, we have a problem with punditry and the integrity of it, frankly, at this point.
Before we move too far away from it, we didn't cover the Scottish girl. For those of who are interested in that, you can... Carl made an excellent video about it over on his channel, Akkad Daily. If you guys want to learn more about these,
talked about it.
Yeah,
and so obviously that's a matter close to his heart because of where he lives.
But the channel is Akkad Daily, and Sargon will be talking about that. I should also go ahead and do this one. We got more Rumble rants too.
Okay, cool. Dr. Admiral, thoughts on Trump sending ICE to Chicago? I think it's well overdue. I think it's well overdue. Chicago is a bigger nexus point, despite their location. It's a bigger nexus point for Mexican illegal immigration than people realize. There's a huge Mexican community and a huge illegal Mexican community in Chicago, and they like it that way. The politicians, I mean. So I'm all on board with it. Uzi Patrol, Trump has been shot, convicted, and has death rumors. He's MAGA Tupac. Godspeed. The thing I don't understand is it's kind of a self-own. Like, if you're really crossing your fingers hoping Trump dies, you're really crossing your fingers hoping that Vance ascends. Good luck with all that. Black shirt and jeans. The gotcha is many of these criminals know the state puts their consideration over the citizens. The immigrants know they are protected class. Exactly. You're seeing this too in cases of like you see it a lot with like third wave feminists who are just unruly cunts in a conversation or something. You see these videos all the time online, whether they're arguing with their boyfriend or they're arguing with their manager or just arguing with a person on the street. I saw one of a motorist pulling up alongside another motorist, and the camera woman was a feminist cunt, and she's just browbeating this person, and it's making her look bad. But she's counting on the fact that she's a woman and the other motorist is a guy. And so everyone's going to weigh in her favor. And of course, some people did for purely clannish bullshit reasons. I agree with you on that one. The Copper Owl, remember it's free speech to burn the American flag, but don't you dare call the PDF file a gamer word. The founders wouldn't want that. Emperor Creative, buongiorno, RazörForce. It's a me, Il Duce. I'm very pleased to see that you are wearing your best black shirts and black pants. Godspeed. Duce. See, Stryker, it sucks. I grew up near Minnesota all my life, and it's terrible to see where it is now. Up yours, Obama. The damage done to Minnesota under the Obama administration was generational and quite possibly irreversible. I cast knife. Turns out we hated them for the content of their character all along. Just so happens the melanin is an early warning signal like poison tree frogs.
Jesus.
That super chat available with German subtitles, by the way. Yeah. Normal man, stop. He's already dead. Garcia, Raj is just a 25-year-old baby. He didn't do nothing. Oh, we should add to the Rajah Jackson story. He's already taking bookings. He's already booked for other shows. He not only hasn't been prosecuted, He's already been booked for other wrestling shows.
Let's see. We got some Rumble rants here. Lagarticus. I still find it depressingly hilarious that it boils down to GOP ineptitude versus the fecal dumpster fire that is the DNC.
Yeah.
Godspeed, and thanks for the deeper dive into my question from Friday.
Yeah, Godspeed. I like doing little things like this. Maybe as we're heading in closer to the actual midterms, we're talking 2026, maybe we'll do a proper breakdown a couple of weeks before the election and kind of, maybe we'll circle back like Jen Psaki. We'll circle back and talk about it again.
She ever get around to
that? Right? I love, dude, her response to the Minnesota shooting. Did you see that?
No, and I don't care to.
She had like a Gavin Newsom-esque, like where Gavin Newsom was like, they were praying as they were being shot. It's like, wait till you find out what Jesus did while he was hanging on the cross, ass face. But Jen Psaki was saying something like, stuff your thoughts in prayers, stuff your prayers aren't enough. She did one of those hot takes. Kind of like Rube Gallego. I think he did that too. And I helpfully pointed out that, hey, if prayers didn't work, you'd still be in your former job in the White House, bitch. HDRK, thoughts on Alex Stein crashing out over Israel just now? I think it's kind of tongue-in-cheek. When I was watching it, it seemed a little performative to me. I like Alex Stein. He's hilarious. I don't think he was... I could be wrong. I don't watch Tim Pool, so I didn't see the full context, but I did see the clip. I don't know. If you guys watch the full stream, you probably know better than me, but the little clip that I saw, my first instinct was Alex Stein's he does kind of a Andy Kaufman thing sometimes, and maybe that's what it was. I think that's his opinion about Israel, but I think him freaking out like that was kind of performative. That's just my gut feeling, though. I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Isaac, I personally don't like Trump. Everything he's promised has either been backpedaled or changed. I would refer you to our first 100 days stream where we went point by point down all the things that Trump had already done in the first 100 days, most of which were done in the first week. I need to make a video about the right's terminal case of political amnesia, because this happened in 2016, and it's happening again after the 2024 election, where Trump does a whole bunch of shit right out of the gate. He fulfills pretty much all the promises that he said he was going to fulfill. And then he has to get to the business of running the country, which is messy and ugly and goes, you kind of, fall backward for every couple yards of ground that you gain. That's just politics. That's how it is. And so you get bogged down in that. And the narrative suddenly shifts from, oh, Trump did a bunch of stuff that he promised to do, to everybody suddenly contracts political amnesia. And it's all about how he's failing at present. It's very much a what have you done for me lately syndrome. There's an element of that is healthy, but I think the right has long since eclipsed into a very unhealthy version of it that fails to account for all the stuff that he did at the beginning of his term. We really need to take a breath, have a cigarette and a shit, and relax. I think Raj is 25 years old. If he's a kid, I'm a 35-year-old teenager. Godspeed. Insane hippie. What Raja Jackson did is attempted murder, pure and simple. The state troopers just took the case over the LA Police Department. Probably a good idea, actually. Lammy Chop. After that, I need a cigarette and a pizza. What a lady, right? Maud Wazik. Your daily reminder, the Road Dog literally revealed that Mark Henry unironically ate 2 bites of a Dookie sandwich filled by an unnamed DX member. See, I had heard that it was a Headbangers. Sir Rogaine. The left seem absolutely intent on burning their credibility faster than a crazed rifleman pilot. Hey, nothing's that fast. What do you think is the best way to capitalize on it? I'll put this to Taryn. What do you think? The left's crash out, which continues. And I said at the outset, the 2 big things you need to consider heading into the midterms are how popular how mobilized is the left? What is their level of enthusiasm? And right now it's deader than Biden. And what are the actual registration figures? We didn't even talk about the registration figures, actually. I can pull those up. They were just reported. They're from last year, mind you, but heading into this year, of course, they're going to still be largely the case. But the registration figures for the Democrats are post-apocalyptic. They are not good.
I reposted that too. The graph. That ain't that a crying shame? I think
this is something I probably should have mentioned in my breakdown of the midterms and the upcoming one-off election in November. This is what Democrat voter registration looks like in all the battlegrounds. This is bowling shoe ugly, people.
This is a work of art. I want to hang it on the wall.
And this is from 2020 to 2024. Keep in mind, they won in 2020. They lost support and registration following Biden's victory, his gigantic air quotes victory. So this is all stuff that you need to take into account heading into the midterms. The enthusiasm gap. My thing is, I think Republicans are a little demoralized. I agree with the people who are saying that. Like, I saw people in the chat saying that. I don't disagree with you. I do not disagree with you. I think a lot of Republicans are demoralized. Some of them are kind of out in the weeds on pet issues, whether it be Iran, Israel, whatever it is, right? But I do think that enthusiasm problem is still there. I think that's accurate. But they're the incumbents. They have control. So if Democrats don't have sufficient enthusiasm, and right now they do not, they just don't, then it doesn't matter. And guys, we saw that with the prospective red wave in 2022, where Democrats were very unpopular and some people were predicting a red wave. I did not, by the way. I did not predict a red wave. But I did think that they would do better than they did. And so when the enthusiasm problem can't overcome that, it doesn't matter. The existing party in power gets to stay right there. And that is important to actually weigh in mind. So is there a specific thing you think they could do, though, Taryn, to capitalize on that?
Kick them while they're down.
Like Raja Jackson. Weefy. Any chance for a music mythos on Bach? I don't know every single work he ever did because he was very, very prolific. Plus, I'd have to review a bunch of hymns and stuff. I went to for the first time in years since I was a little kid, I went to a Lutheran Church Missouri Synod on Sunday, not an LCMC, which is normally what I attend. It was just to roll the dice and see, because for a variety of reasons, I didn't have to be at the church that I normally was. So I decided to roll the dice on one down the road. But half the hymnary is by Bach. Half of it is Johann Sebastian Bach. You leaf through a Lutheran hymnary and it's just Bach, 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 Martin Luther, Bach, 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 Martin Luther. It's genius. All right. Mode Wazik, the best way to solve the Mexican illegal populist problem in Chicago is easy, actually. Just deport CM Punk and they'll leave singing his theme song. It is weird. He's very popular with Mexican illegals.
Let me continue over here with the Rumble rants.
Oh, please do.
Dangerous Spaces, comparing immigration enforcement to Nazi Germany is so incredibly baffling to me. If these people read a history book, they would see that Nazis in no way respected the sanctity of national borders.
My bladder's about to explode like a Belfast car bomb. So if you could finish reading the Rumble rants, and I'll be right back.
Sure.
All right, cool.
That next one was a question. I'll skip that until he comes back. We have one here from Eric over on Rumble. I've taught machine operator classes in Chirac 20 plus times in the last 5 years. And in 90% of those classes, I needed an ESL translator. Oh, goodness. We have one here from Noah Bodie. Quartering's vid said Cali states have taken over the case and Raja is facing prosecution. Well, we can only hope. Paradoxal rebellion against rebellious paradoxy. Thank you for the raid over on Rumble. Let me scroll back up to that Rumble rant. That was a question. Excellent. Let me go back to reading some super chats. I don't know where he left off. Let's see. I'll start here at...
Okay, I'm back, actually. You were going to go through the super... Thank you for holding down the fort, by the way.
Oh, no problem.
As my dad would say, my teeth were about to float.
As Ruron had a question for you. Razor, do you think Gina Swoboda will be replaced at AZGOP chair leadership? Gina has now come strongly against school choice.
Yep. I don't trust her. She didn't help Gary Lake the way she should have. I don't care for her at all. She didn't do much on election integrity. To me, if you're the head of the AZGOP, your new 9-to-5 job is fixing Arizona elections. Period. End of sentence. Done. She has done nothing. Absolutely nothing to fix Arizona. We are the laughingstock of the entire country on elections. And this country, dude, there are some states in this country that have some really fucked up elections. We just talked about Georgia at the top of the show. And I'm sure you could name a half dozen, states that just have problems with their elections. California and on, and Illinois even. The Las Vegas fraud machine over in Nevada. You know what I mean? The Harry Reid fraud machine is still out there. But, dude, Arizona takes the cake. So I hope she's replaced. I really do. I'm reading The Real Lincoln. My mind is blown. Yes, Necromancer. Highly recommend that book if you want the real story on Abraham Lincoln. Also recommend Lincoln Unmasked and the Problem with Abraham Lincoln. Fantastic books that take a much more nuanced view of the Civil War, the lead up to it, and the tyranny of one Abraham Lincoln. Emperor Creatine still raving mad about how I can't get hired in IT. Have you tried getting a suntan? Thanks to all the H-1B crap, unless I get hired by an Indian IT company first, can't get an IT job as a U.S. citizen without India's permission. Jesus. Take up yoga, wear a diaper, get a suntan. Little dot right there, I'm saying.
Practice Yoga Flame.
Yes, Yoga Flame. Dr. Admiral, another off-topic question. What do you think of Roger Moore's third Bond film, The Spy Who Loved Me? Who doesn't love that movie, dude? Taryn?
Oh, it's amazing.
He says, I love that movie and consider it his best one he did. My personal favorite is Live and Let Die, but dude, I can watch The Spy Who Loved Me any day of the week. It's one of the best Bond movies. Some people consider it the best, and with good reason. It's very, very, very good. Very good. Hung Nguyen, I must remind you, this is supposed to be the summer of protests, by the way. No Kings 2.0 was planned, by the way. That was the protest, by the way, that I swung by here in Phoenix. It was the No Kings protest. Well-funded, advertised everywhere, pre-printed signs, the whole 9 yards. I drive past the exact street corner in Phoenix it was supposed to take place at. Tumbleweeds. Not one human being. Crazy. Thank you for pointing that out, bro. Aaron Colo, the ICE equals Nazi is not even historically accurate, as the Nazi banned Jews from leaving Germany as part of the final solution. Thank you. Thank you. I don't remember the Jews trying to sneak into Germany. Maud Voisic, hey, I started reading The Not So Wild Wild West by Terry Anderson and Peter Hill after randomly stumbling upon an old tweet of yours. Great stuff. Yeah, it's really good. It's a good civics lesson for the Old West. A good civics lesson about how much regulation is even really needed to have a functioning society, and the preponderance of violence that tends to accompany the swelling size of the federal government. Overkill 161. 2022 prediction is Jeb! Jeb now! Jeb forever! A Jeb in every driveway and a Jeb in every pot. Animate Acumen, Georgia is dead. What do you think about Taryn? You think Georgia's a lost cause? I mean, I know you've caught some noise. The whole fiasco with Stacey Abrams and everything that's been going on in Georgia. You think it's a lost cause? You think it's just hard blue, never going back?
I don't know. I don't want to believe it. I mean, really, I suppose the comparison to make would be Minnesota, which is hopelessly lost unless you deport everyone that has gone there for the past like 15 years. But I don't know, man. You would need a powerful movement to get Georgia back.
Yep. Lazy man, you wonder why North Carolina would go blue after everything? The North Carolina state GOP are full of rhinos sandbagging elections out of spite against MAGA candidates. There's a lot of that going on down ticket. Trump is still trying to fumigate the Republican Party. And yeah, he doesn't have to deal with McCain anymore. He doesn't have to deal with Romney anymore. He managed to bring Marco Rubio, of all people, apparently into the stable, although I still don't trust the asshole. But the work is not done yet. It's an ongoing process, and he's going to be out of office before this process is actually consummated. So, Jigs Dino God, many states are likely to swing red just because of a Dem position we saw last week. Quote, prayer doesn't work, unquote. I literally saw that tweet. That is a literal quote. People forget a lot, not you trashing religion. That is kind of a good point. Even in our transitory news cycle, Emperor Creatine, you know what's amazing? Oh, no, I already read this one. I don't know if he donated it twice, but Dapper Helljumper, here in Kentucky, Louisville, and Lexington literally export lib shit ideology and homosexual stuff to the surrounding red cities. In Shelbyville, they've worked their way into the local boards and councils. This is happening in every red state in the union. Every single one. It's happening in Oklahoma. We just heard about it in Oklahoma. Matthew Holloway, my projections show the Senate +3, House +5. Have Gell hit me up. I'd love to collab. Ooh, it's not a bad idea. If would you guys want to have someone come on who covers the elections like on a ground level from the media to just talk through this issue? Because we've never really had a guest on here, have we, Taryn?
No.
Not really. We've never done a proper interview on the RazörForce offensive. It's always just us talking the issues with a bunch of one-off rants. I think that'd be cool for a change of pace. Let us know, RazörForce, what you think of that one, because I think that'd be cool. Nick's mustache. Michigan is a lost cause. I hate it here. Guaranteed blue. Yeah, I put it soft red only because of how the aggregate is looking right now. But how the aggregate is looking right now is no guarantee of Election Day. We're a little less than a year and a half away from Election Day. So a lot can change. Copperhead Snake can confirm most blues in North Carolina are expats from up north. H-1B problem goes beyond rally. I agree. Matthew Hammond, Trump Republicans are low propensity voters. Without Trump on the ballot, it will be tough for Republicans to win. Here's the problem. When the opposition has a bigger enthusiasm problem than your side, as we saw in 2022, it won't matter. This, I think, is a bigger firewall than people realize. But again, I don't think this affects, who knows if the Republican voters are still going to be dissimilarly, demoralized in 2026 as they are right now in November. So, Jonathan English, Arkansas is rhino red and will unfortunately remain that way for the foreseeable future. The Copper Owl, saying Hank's voice, Rolling Stone doesn't make his son look good. His son makes Rolling Stone worse. Godspeed. JD 1989, given the current makeup of the Democratic Party, it's doubtful they'll be able to have any realistic chance of taking the House or Senate. Yeah, I didn't show you guys the final numerical figure there, but if you crunch the numbers in your own head on that map that we showed, it's a pretty comfortable win for the GOP in the Senate. Lance Corporal Hawk, visiting my girl in Oregon, went through Portland today and right on cue, a protest on an overpass. We can assume what kind. Cherry on top, there was a homeless camp under the overpass. Will wonders never cease, bro. Will wonders never cease. The politics and the effect of the politics inhabiting roughly the same geographic region. Wouldn't you know it? Opinionated junkie, illegals are the reason for high rent and mortgage. They're one of the contributing factors, for sure. One of the contributing factors. Another is China buying up all the real estate.
Which
foreign entities.
I don't think
BlackRock.
I don't think we covered Greg Abbott, governor of Texas.
No.
Either recently signed or is about to sign legislation to prevent China, or I think it's specifically America's adversaries and rivals, from buying land in Texas.
Yep. It's good. Wait, didn't she sign off of the name change? Who?
The shooter, the asshole.
Yes.
The mother.
Yep. What I've heard is no. Hung Nguyen, my thought was Reddit is responsible for this.
Well,
I'd be surprised if they didn't have a Reddit account. Let's put it that way. Agamemnon Fireman. This is about the governor race in New Jersey, but I believe Chattarelli can win. Polls in 2021 had a double-digit miss, and the same polls have him down less this year. Kamala only won New Jersey by 6 points. Biden won by 16. That is true. New Jersey did drift red by quite a bit, but that was with Trump on top. And that is crucial to remember. Look, Trump has a number of properties out in New Jersey. He's a recognizable brand in New Jersey. Even if he had never been the president, he already would have had some roots in New Jersey. So, beware produce without Best Buy dates on them. They're possibly treated with Bill Gates' appeal edipeel. Even raccoons won't touch the produce. Interesting. Sea Striker, I fear this may be a recurring theme with all the trans kids having their lives ruined through the John Money 2.0 experiments. Agamemnon, I lived in New Jersey 20 years. In my opinion, it is changing. I have heard that politically some of the makeup of New Jersey is changing. George Alexopoulos, who lives out in Jersey, talked to me a little bit about it. Nesquick, thoughts on the possible RNC Trump wants ahead of the midterms next year? Seems intelligent to me. I like that as a novel idea, just to kind of marshal the base and sort of if you used that as an occasion to remind everybody of the first 100 days, so they kind of get out of this, because there's an op going on the right now. Like, let's just say it. There are people who claim to be right-wing podcasters today who are not right-wing. They are flat-out left-wing Democrat operatives. And some of them are very, very big. And their only cause célèbre right now is to divide the right, because the left can't marshal their troops. They can't argue. They can't string an argument together. So it could be good for Republicans to sort of remind everybody to sort of break that spell that is slowly being woven by some of these podcasters. I think it could go a long way to sort of breaking that spell and getting a little bit of momentum ahead of the election. It's not a bad idea, depending on how it's handled. Sea Striker, the media's made mass shooters and serial killers into modern day outlaws. Gosh, outlaws. Have you seen a true crime podcast? These wine moms have turned serial killers into Lotharios. Like they're like, oh my gosh, Ted Bundy's so dreamy. Like this kind of shit. You hear this kind of shit on true crime podcasts. Dude, the true crime genre is such cancer. Grizzly Beardo. Giffords flat out lies about our anti-2A laws in Minnesota. We don't have any mag regs, but only a scant 2 election cycles ago, we had the right to buy and sell our own personal fishing rods without FFLBS. So things are sliding. Luke Korolovich, would you agree a comic book set after the FBI has been disbanded is a utopian setting? I'm working on one in at least 5 issues. Hey, keep pulling on that ball of yarn, buddy. Thank you, Grizzly. I'm not sure if you donated that twice or that's a glitch. Bass player, here's the thing. If Lindsey Graham does win, this will be his last term. You think that, Taryn? You agree with that?
I don't know. How old is Lindsey Graham now?
I don't know. He's too young. He's not not close, not enough on a speaking basis with the Grim Reaper, in my opinion. But the entire Myrtle Beach area is a retirement home for blue-collar and retired military, and Lindsay will not do well as more Gen X and millennials move in. Yeah, the Gen X and millennials hate his goddamn guts, dude. JD 1989, Magnus Hirschfeld and John Money have done more damage to medical science than Josef Mengele. It's true. At least there was some scientific benefit ultimately achieved from the Mengele experiments. Jigs Dino God, 2 years ago, religious schools wrote Tim Walz for security funds that public schools got. Instead, Walz, best friends with shooters, might I add, spent it on trans outreach. It's a spicy meatball. That's wonderful to hear. That's wonderful to hear. The Hell Knight on Crowder, they said the mother signed off on his transition and father didn't sign, but also didn't contest the transition. Yeah, I wonder when that was said, because this is kind of a fluid situation. I've heard conflicting reports. Like I said, when we were talking about this issue, forgive me if I say something that winds up being contradicted later, because it seems every other day the narrative around this shooter is changing. It looks like a stretched Carrot Top. Now that's just mean to Carrot Top. Cunning Druger, and then she changed her name to Taryn. Now that was just mean. That was mean.
Uncalled for.
Uncalled for. Recluse Nutcase, would you mind shilling for Medicare's shop in response to certain people spreading rumors of his passing? Sure, if the mods want to shout out his shop or whatever. I hate to hear that. Shout out to Medicare. I'm sorry, for all he's been going through. He's been fighting a cancer diagnosis, I believe. James Kelly, thank you very much. Emperor Soft Turtle, I bet you this creature, this thing, had a different mental issue. Its doctor and therapist just called it trans for money. Well, giving a creature mentally unbalanced hormones is a bad idea. I mean, dude, if I were to, when guys go on testosterone treatment, sometimes their mood can be affected. And that's a pretty standard medical treatment for guys who maybe have low T or something like that. Like that kind of thing happens all the time. So conceive of how much worse it is to have more dramatic hormones introduced to someone's system, especially when they're already an adolescent or just on the other side of adolescence, when their body is still developing. Like, guys, we're mutilating people chemically if we're not mutilating them surgically. And some of this damage can't be undone. Dude, if we used to joke about in high school someone smoking when they were too young and it's stunting their growth. It does. Observably, it does. So imagine what these hormones are doing to kids when they're taking them pre-puberty, mid-puberty, just post-puberty. Dude, there is irreparable damage being done here. And I think that's a contributor in some of these cases to these shootings, because these people see that they've basically ruined their lives before they've even started.
My favorite is the people who say, oh, you can just take puberty blockers now. And these are doctors.
Mm-hmm.
You can take puberty blockers now. And then if you change your mind later, you can just, we can accelerate it later on in your life and you can go through puberty. Like, based on what science?
Vote from the rooftops. Or if you're in Saudi Arabia, vote off the side of the rooftops. It's kind of a... Anyways. Matthew 5-9, I didn't say that. How long until the CCP is forced to start a war with Taiwan to distract from what's going on at home? It's an open question. I think we will see some kind of move against Taiwan ultimately, and I think in the relatively recent future. But how recent will that be depends a lot on whether their Navy is actually ready to party, because the last naval exercises they had to cancel prematurely. And then that action was punctuated by a purging of the PLA. The third highest ranking military official in the Chinese Navy was just disappeared. He was purged right after that. We now think it was by Xi Jinping, but no one's really sure. So are they ready to invade Taiwan if their military exercises went so badly they had to purge the military right after them and had to cancel them halfway through? I'm not so sure on that one. All right, eat my slamwich. Usually I only ask this during the arcade, but since this is the 2-year anniversary, can you do as is heel versus babyface Starfield effing pronoun rant as angry Christian fan? Oh, good. Current day California shit. It's like, no. You want me to trash your fucking Starfield? Want me to trash your fucking pronouns? You and me were fucking done professionally. Anyways, dude, I love that rant. I could just listen to that all day long.
It's so
freaking
good.
great. Oh, it's so great.
You've heard the song, right? I mean, I
Yes.
must have sent it to you. At
It's
some
like
point.
you're just walking around. Da, 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 da. Arc 5. So I guess the Habsburgs and the Pope are at odds. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's never a good sign. Isaac, personal favorite anime of mine is Golden Boy. Kelson, while we're discussing anime, Legends of Galactic Heroes. It's the Napoleonic Wars in space. It's always great when you take an existing Earth war and just put it in space, right? Battletech. That's all Battletech is. World War I in space. That's all it is. They took World War I, put it in space. The great houses are just central powers, whatever, right? It's the different sides of World War I. It's brilliant. It works. I love it. It's the Napoleonic Wars in space, both in themes, plot, and aesthetics. Retrofuturism married to Napoleonic flair and drama. My personal favorite anime, all 110 episodes. Godspeed, dude. Autonomous Prime, what's your opinion about SB 20 being passed into law in Texas? The law is so vague that it can badly impact many with the law. Is that the one you were just talking about? Let me double check the...
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Just real quick.
While you're doing that,
Sure.
Dangerous
Yes,
Spaces
please do.
over on Rumble. Just want to point out to people.
Oh, the AI bill. The AI regulation bill. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably going to end up in some kind of Supreme Court decision of some kind. Because, yeah, if you have a lax definition of what constitutes objectionable material, thank you very much, Flaky. Jigs Dino Gone. Anyone recall the slasher film Sleepaway Camp? Never watched it, but I have heard of it. That final scene freaked me out. Saw it in the theater. Did you? Dapper Helljumper, follow up from my last super. How can we as a local party and a group oppose such exportation from these blue hellholes like that? Gosh, it's simple. You always want to raise tax revenue, right? No politician's ever going to vote against raising tax revenue, ever. So you impose a tax on people moving from particular states. That's it. It's just a moving tax. Granted, a lot of people are going to pay it, whatever, but all you have to do is make Arizona or Texas a little less attractive for California emigres. That's all you need to do. If they were planning to move to Phoenix and suddenly there's a moving from California tax, maybe they move to Colorado instead. That's all you're trying to do. And to me, that's the only way you can stop the bleeding. That's my proposal. You have one, Taryn?
No, that actually sounds perfect. That or just, increase the number of rad scorpions.
Yeah, and we know you can tax people moving out of the state of California because Gavin Newsom did it. The engaged few, every time I hear about ICE raids, I think of the song Illegal Alien by Genesis and start singing, "It's no fun being an illegal alien." It's true. Ghost Rider. You ever get the feeling these shifty norms in spy-ridden consumer tech, censorship, gaming, etc. are to consolidate all media into television 2.0? Dude, I've said this for a long time. Streaming services are arcing right back around to being cable television. If you notice, they're starting to package them together. You can buy the Disney package deal where it's Disney Plus and Hulu and a whole bunch of other services all packaged into what we're literally to the point where they've got multiple channels going at once and live TV too. I think we're very, very close to having lapped back around to having cable television that costs a lot more than cable television, by the way. And the only thing that will have changed is you get it through the internet instead of through a coaxial cable. And some people have cable internet, so that isn't even much of a change. Congratulations, you played yourself. Chad Layton, Vancouver, Washington, across the river from Portland, was a small red spot in the sea of blue that is the leftist West Coast. Over the last few years, it's gone blue. So looking to move to Iowa. Washington is, oh man, that's rough. Mikey, so I just read that Trump is mulling over reopening insane asylums. Do you think we could actually get that win? Here's the problem. How do you define an insane asylum? Because if it's we still have state hospitals that are ostensibly perform the same function. So are you replacing state hospitals with like 1800 style insane asylums? We technically still have asylums is my thing. I don't know. Taryn, you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's necessary at this point.
Yeah.
There's just it's got too bad across the whole country.
It has. I guess my objection would be that the problem is definitional. We're not defining someone a man who thinks he's a woman as mentally ill and then sending them off to the loony bin anymore. That's a problem. That's the problem ultimately. They need to get treatment. They need therapy, and they don't need therapy from someone who's going to say, hey, you've got a mental disorder where you're seeing little green men. The solution to that is to talk to the little green men. Like that's kind of how we're treating transgenderism and gender dysphoria at this point. Dr. Admiral, the Iran question, well, without getting into like personal stuff, it was wild because you never know if you're going to be able to come back. That's wild. The passport situation is an interesting one. We weren't quite on such hostile footing with them at that time, so there was less of a worry. But let's just say I had to, with the family that I went to visit, we had to coordinate an alternate way to get out of Iran if need be.
That's always a good sign.
Yep. This is a good sign. So, and you know what? That's not that far off from some of the volunteer work that like Tactical Hobo did in the DR, and I did, and he and I did in some other countries where you were never quite sure. Like if you ran into the authorities, were you going to be pulled over? Were they going to disappear your ass? Right? Hung Nguyen. Speaking of Brandon Herrera, leftoid spin the trans shooter is a MAGA conservative because he supports Brandon and has racist anti-Semite memes on his guns. Well, yeah, but didn't the person come right out and say, I'm doing this so that people will troll the right because I don't like them?
Well, see, the brilliant part about that is it's in the manifesto, and people aren't allowed to read from the manifesto.
Yep.
Not on the major news networks or on YouTube or whatnot, Twitch. You just can't talk about that stuff, so they can say whatever they want.
Yep. Scarlock, Operation San Andreas Fault Line would remove a huge portion of Democrats from California. How's that for a two-state solution? Yep, one of the states can be an island under the sea. Animate Acumen, okay. But what about a tri-state solution? I'll see myself out. Yes, you will. Godspeed. Obsidian Mug, what's worse, the government managing public utilities or BlackRock and private equity? It's the same thing. They're the same picture. BlackRock is so heavily funded and wrapped up in the government, they're essentially a remote government entity anyway. This is the problem with crony capitalism / mercantilism, which is the system we have now. We don't have capitalism in this country. So, Isaac, call up Michael Bay. At least it would be a good show. I agree. Obsidian Mug, my yoga instructor had to move her practice out of state where the lockdown laws were more lenient. She said there were rewards for snitching on businesses that were open. Nazis me, huh? Nazis my this, that, my ass. I don't know what happened with that sentence, but me and my yoga instructor, we go way back. Have you seen the African conception of time vid? I think I now have children after that joke. Have you seen the African conception of time vid? They literally think time goes backwards and don't understand the concept of the future. No, I've never been to Africa. That's one continent I've never been to. No, that's fascinating though. That's absolutely fascinating. I love that. Okay. Oops, sorry. I forgot to check that one off. Anthony GM, I live in California. A job listing I received for Panda Express listed pay is $27 to $30 an hour. We know who's going to take that job, don't we? No shit. Dreadnought Logan. Dude, I had freaking Panda Express the other day.
I haven't had them in a while.
I had a freaking flashback to years ago. Like the last time I had Panda Express was 10, maybe more than that years ago. And I remember walking out of the Panda Express going, dude, I'm never going back here. This was too expensive. And I remember vividly, I can't rationalize spending $8 on a meal or whatever, something like, dude, now it's like 20 something bucks. It's quaint to look back on fast food prices in 2007 when it was like, oh my God, $8 for a bowl at Samurai Sam's. I can't justify that. Now it's like 25 bucks. It's like, dude. As I still live in California, 4-state solution now. Godspeed. Frog Jupiter, have you seen Second Thoughts vid on econ? He unironically argued supply and demand wasn't real because prices change at the grocery store throughout the day. Penetrating insight. I'm not going to say what it's penetrating, but Douglas, Western Europe is gone, especially the UK. I said this on a Razor Fist Arcade recently. The time for Europe to fight this was a long time ago. And there were just not even libertarians, basic bitch, bog standard conservatives, Tories in the UK who warned that this was going to happen demographically. And they were called Nazis and shouted down. And some of them were even prosecuted. This is a day late and $1 short. Doesn't even begin to sell it. This is, I appreciate that you guys are pissed. I appreciate that you're protesting now. But dude, you shouted down some people who tried to help you years ago. I don't have a whole lot of compassion over there in tea and crumpet land. Sea Striker, don't you dare pray. It upsets our Lord and Master below. John McCain. Mark Daly, gender-affirming care is by far the most rancid piece of Orwellian doublespeak in operation, despite the stiff competition. Well put, sir. Well put, sir. You have anything to say to that, Taryn?
No, accurate. I think I sometimes wonder what Orwell would think if he could see the world as it is today.
McLeod 2486, to me, it's not what have you done for me lately, it's what has Trump done that'll outlive his tenure that'll keep the weirdos at bay. I agree. I'm not saying it's ideal. Trump was the best of a bad situation. You were never going to agree with him 100% of the time, and I don't. I really, really think some people are missing the forest for the trees. They're developing a political amnesia on the right wing, and we've really got to start pushing back against it. There's nothing wrong with holding Trump's feet to the fire when he does something we don't agree with. You guys saw me the other day when Trump announced that 600,000 Chinese students thing, which was not as bad as reported. Apparently, it's pretty much the same rate that it's been before, but I opposed it before. Like, we shouldn't be importing people from a hostile Chinese regime. Put it this way. China are aware that they are in a Cold War with the United States. We're not treating them like it. And that's a problem. Only one side has joined this Cold War. It's in progress, whether you like it or not. It's time for us to acknowledge that it's happening and treat China as if they are a hostile party in a Cold War against us. Because they certainly are behaving like it, and internally, they are acknowledging it, openly amongst each other. Squishy Hunter. There's a non-zero chance I may be moving to AZ late next year, likely Phoenix or just outside of it. Anything I should be aware of outside of Scorpions and 110-degree temperatures? Yeah, get a good air conditioner. Get used to having your air conditioner set a little bit higher than you're used to, because if you run your AC at like the East Coast temperatures that you're used to, your AC unit will freeze over and you'll be sweating your balls off before long. You will ultimately be sweating one way or another. So that would be the first thing. Any advice from you, Taryn?
Buy an elephant gun for the death claws.
Yes. Buy an elephant gun for the death claws. By the way, our gun laws are gorgeous. So enjoy our gun stores. You can literally walk in, pick out a gun, walk out in 10 minutes, fill out one form and walk out in like 10 minutes with a brand new gun. It's glorious. It's fantastic. No background check, nothing.
Here, let me before you continue, let me read a few.
Oh, there is a
Rumble
background check, but not in the way that you think in other states.
Dangerous spaces. I just want to point out to people like Gavin Newsom and Jen Psaki that the Minnesota shooter also disdain religion and religious people. You dumbasses are taking the side of a school shooter. Morons.
Yep.
And Jaguar Sage, you once mentioned that Nancy Pelosi had some connection to Jim Jones. What was that connection?
Nancy Pelosi was part of, so there was kind of a cabal in California of a crop of politicians who were just popping up in the 70s, and Pelosi was one of them. There's Barbara Boxer, I think. Dianne Feinstein was one of them. Jerry Brown, George Moscone, Harvey Milk was in that whole set, right? That whole group of people. So Nancy Pelosi was one of many people who was connected to the whole Jones thing. When he became housing commissioner of San Francisco, she endorsed him. Unfortunately, we'll never know if she spoke at his church. We know that the vast majority of the California political establishment did speak at his church. We have some evidence of, for example, Jerry Brown speaking at his church. Because what happened is after Jonestown, Jim Jones, he had been illegally appointed the housing commissioner. So after Jonestown and the mass suicide, it was believed by Jerry Brown correctly that the People's Temple was going to be investigated, and they would discover the connections between a lot of the California politicians and the People's Temple. So Jerry Brown, the day of Jonestown, ordered all public records in the California archives relating to the People's Temple, meaning pictures, articles that would have been covering events that prominent California politicians would have been involved in with the People's Temple. He ordered them all purged, which is why the only pictures we have of Jerry Brown with Jim Jones, of Jerry Brown with Rosalind Carter and such, those are from independent third-party newspapers from out of state. Nothing from California is extant. And the only stuff that exists in the California, like Historical Society and stuff, is pulled from outside California sources. So Pelosi very likely spoke at his church, because pretty much everyone did in the California political establishment. But only Jerry Brown was prominent enough to have been covered nationally outside of California, so we still have the photos of him with Jim Jones, him speaking from the pulpit. We don't have a photo of him at the pulpit with Jim Jones in the background or anything that neat, but we do know that he spoke from the pulpit and whatever. So did Rosalind Carter. And of course, Rosalind Carter prevailed upon her husband, and her husband was the person who in all likelihood pulled the strings to get the California political establishment to immediately latch on to Jim Jones in the way that they did. That led to him being housing commissioner. Him becoming housing commissioner led to him wielding that position against his victims. That ultimately led to him fleeing to Guyana, and of course the mass suicide, as I said earlier. Gigamango Fanta, thoughts on Reddit Lite, 4chan, and the Farms suing Britain's Ministry of Censorship. Oh, right, they're suing the British Ministry of Censorship. Any advice on how they should go about protecting Fourth and First Amendment rights digitally from agencies abroad? Here's the problem. I don't know what the barrier is in Britain, right? Like, for example, you had Candace Owens, who's going to have that whole lawsuit going on. She's going to cite that some French people who had made the claim about Brigitte Macron won their case. But the problem is the barrier to prove that is to prove that they actually were acrimonious in it. So what's the barrier is my question. Are they going to be able to prove that? And in Britain, man, with the way their courts are, ooh, that really, really worries me. That worries me that there'll be some weird statute or something. So not knowing the courts, I couldn't really answer that. Normal man. Didn't the Soviets deport Germans after World War II? Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Sorry, my screen got cut off there. Yes, indeed. Man, we're having a little dust storm going on here.
Are we?
Yes. Filipino white boy, I'm a delivery driver of Northern Virginia. I've seen a lot of Stuart and Winsome Sears signs in the neighborhoods I deliver to, which I think is a good sign. Loudoun and Fairfax counties tend to vote blue. Interesting. Primarch Vulcan, if you're thinking of having guests on, might I suggest Richard Barris? I think that would be an awesome stream. I agree. I've been invited onto his stream before. We just never were able to make both ends meet.
Matt G. Hammond over on Rumble Rant says Richard Barris and Robert Barnes on RazörForce Offensive.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. Mark Daly, I'm a claims adjuster, but I'm tired of climbing on sloped roofs, so I'm applying to the Secret Service. That's great. Yeah, I hear you can just hang out inside and do nothing. I hear. I love that Dave Landau joke. Apparently, they call it the Secret Service because when they see a shooter, they keep it a secret. Freaking brilliant. DRT is king. Kershaw has covered the Fed buying mortgage payments, and this will stop later this year. This will likely cause a housing price debt to explode in many areas. I think the next couple of years, some shit is going to happen in the housing market. I don't know what. I don't know real estate well enough, and I haven't been following the story close enough. But like housing prices here in Phoenix are starting to drop for the first time in forever. So I'm like, okay, is this going to be like a full-on slide? Are we going to have a crash? Is this going to be a soft landing? I kind of doubt it. What's going to happen here? What exactly?
Crossed.
Yep. I mean, it'd be nice to take a look at some houses and stuff that I've had an eye on, but they've just been priced into the stratosphere. It'd be nice to kind of come back to earth a little bit.
It would be nice not to have to spend $1 million on a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot home.
Wouldn't it? I'm starting to notice all the world's problems are caused by a certain short, hairy people with funny hats and big noses. Goddamn dwarves. No, the French!
I was going to say the dwarves too.
What are we waiting for? Giga Mango Fanta, pray for Rudy Giuliani following his severe injuries he suffered from a car crash. Hope he gets out of it and doesn't get the McCarthy treatment. Yeah, Godspeed, Rudy Giuliani. Whatever you think of him, yeah, he's taken rhino positions. He's a New York Republican. He's never been super hardcore, right-wing, whatever. Whatever you feel about him, he is the guy who cleaned up New York City. People who were not alive at the time don't know how bad New York City was before the Giuliani regime. Like, that city was it was the kind of shithole that it's turning back into right now. You can kind of get a feel for it today, but it was even worse than this. It was much worse. Death Wish was a documentary, folks. So Godspeed to Rudy Giuliani. May he recover.
It's ironic, too, because apparently the story was he pulled over to help someone who was in an accident or something.
Got hit on the side of the road.
And then when authorities showed up and everything was cool, he got in his car to leave and somebody rear-ended him at full speed, injuring, his back and everything.
Jeez.
So just the worst timing in the world.
Terrible. All right. Dr. Admiral, these gender transitions are not transitions. They're full-blown chemical sterilizations. I call them chemical castration. Humans cannot change their genders. True. It's true. Sumta gave Starfield a second chance. Why? Was reminded how lacking it is when No Man's Sky's new update dropped that week. Sean Murray is the bizarro Todd Howard, right? Tom Howard. I love that. He couldn't even get the name right. Starfield got some DLC, and apparently they're working on a new update that's supposed to add some value in the space combat a little bit. That's what I heard last from Starfield.
That's nice.
Have you given Starfield any kind of a whirl?
No.
None? Really? No.
Sorry.
You never tried it.
I own No Man's Sky.
Jeez.
And I have no reason to purchase Starfield. Like,
you
literally
consider you should consider for gaming purposes, because I bet with how much you've spent on games, you should consider Game Pass for PC.
Oh no, I have multiple times. It's just, finding the time, because I would hate to buy something that I would barely use. I understand it has its value, but just at this point in my life, I'm so busy.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. I mean, dude, your backlog. My backlog's terrible.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Dude, yours is Everestian.
Yeah. One day.
Logan F. Razor, when's the next Iron Age attacks? They're always a treat to watch. Also, are you excited for Shadow of Kerensky dropping from MechWarrior 5 Mercs in 2 days? P.S. New Shadow audiobook. When? Wolfpack was great, but it's time for the Shadow. I'm almost done recording a Shadow audiobook. I'm happy to report. But let's see here. Iron Age attacks. I really should get around to just doing them to cover what's going on in independent creation. Because like I've seen people say the Iron Age or whatever slowed down or whatever, but it's, dude, all the same number of people are making the same amount of product. It's just I haven't been covering it, which is my fault, honestly. So I should have more people on to talk about it, really. As for Shadow of Kerensky, you excited for that DLC, Taryn?
I've heard nothing about it. Does it add any value to the game? Like,
it's
will it add
adding clans. It's adding clans to MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. Not clans, not MechWarrior 5 clans, but Mercenaries, the main game.
Okay.
So it's a whole campaign themed around the clans.
Oh, good. Now I can defend and attack bases from MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. That's great. While getting bombarded by artillery, too. Yeah.
Can we just get a modern version of Elite and call it a day? Have I got a game for you, buddy? Have I got a game for you? Elite Dangerous is one of the most underrated games in gamedom. I love it.
I need to play it more.
Yes, sir.
Did you hear the latest thing? I'm sure you did.
What?
Apparently, Chris Roberts is excited for GTA 6's release because, people will also be excited for Squadron 42 when that drops in 2027 or 2028.
Bullshit.
Dude. Right.
I would remind you, like the third release date he announced was holiday 2015
or something like that.
Not for Star Citizen, for Squadron 42, the single player space sim game starring Mark Hamill and John Rhys Davies and all the Wing Commander people. They're all going to die before that game comes out. They're all going to die. John Rhys Davies will be in the ground, knock on wood.
I will have children before this fucking game comes out. Like, what the fuck?
In the crawl space under your stairs, yes. Hector, hi, what's up in AZ with Carrie Lake? Did she lose because people didn't want her or rigged election? Always wanted to know. From Florida, she seemed like a good bet.
Rigged.
Yeah, the governor's race for sure was rigged, 100%. Katie Hobbs was running her own election, which was just so... It maddens me that that's even allowed. But she still wound up winning by, 2/10 of a point or something? So every time you see Katie Hobbs, like, Katie Hobbs vetoes this law, vetoes that law, vetoes this, remind yourself, this is a woman whose political mandate is 2/10 of 1 point. This is how Democrats behave, dude. They barely eke by and they rule like a dictator. Republicans, meanwhile, win by 8 points and they're like, well, my honorable colleague across the aisle, we don't see eye to eye, but I'm not going to be rude about it. You know what? Fuck you. Grow a dangling dick. So yeah, in the case of the gubernatorial election, it was a ballot harvesting operation is really what happened there. It was a mass ballot harvesting operation. Right ahead of that election, the census hit Arizona like a Mack truck, which is always sketchy ahead of an election. It means someone's trying to amplify their voter registration totals. And with Biden in office and all that happened ahead of 2020 too. But yeah, so the gubernatorial for sure. I'm pretty sure the Senate race too. Because again, it was another slim margin. I think Rube Gallego was less than 2 points ahead of Carrie Lake. Not a liked politician at all. Katie Hobbs despised. Rube Gallego despised. Carrie Lake, whatever her negatives, she was a known quantity in Arizona, and she didn't have a political record that anybody could run against. That's the thing. So, yeah, I stand by that that was rigged. And for the record, in court, the Arizona Supreme Court, as I said earlier, admitted on the record, Carrie Lake rightfully won the governor's mansion. She did. It's just that her lawyers couldn't prove that Katie Hobbs did it on purpose. She got the judge to admit that there were enough irregularities that she should be the rightful governor of Arizona. You can look that up, by the way. That's public information. And incidentally, Rich Barris, I believe Richard Barris testified in that case. Sulla Felix, thousands of Aussies marched across the nation for Australia to end mass migration. Most politicians who condemned it support pro-Hamas protesters. Isn't it funny how that works? Isn't it funny how that works? Brooklyn Brown, Hillary Clinton scared me when I was a kid. She scares me as an adult, bro. What the hell? How has no one found her phylactery yet? Dr. Fauci's pardoned in prison, but explain to me how Europe evicts millions of existing third world invaders without mass violence. How do you get a Sudanese family to leave without men with guns saying, get on the bus and get the fuck out? Taryn?
No comment.
There's no answer I could give without German or Italian subtitles. Let's see, I can't. I'm still, my armband is being washed. Giga Mango Fanta, at what point do you see the current waves of indie Tumblr slop, has been, digital circus, murder drones, etc., eventually hit its creatively bankrupt wall, or is it already going downhill? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Murder drones, digital circus, who? Taryn, do you know what they're talking about?
Digital circus, murder drones, waves of indie Tumblr slop. Current waves eventually hits creative bankruptcy. I know.
It's an independently animated series. I guess it's an indie animated series.
Has been Hotel. Is that what he's talking about? That has been. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
I mean,
I've not watched any of that stuff, so I'm kind of a boomer.
Yeah, I'm completely ignorant. I mean, I know it's like evil, furry shit, whatever, but
Dino Gods, speaking of Battletech, new lore after 3080 is unfollowable. You're not telling lies, bro. Firing Blaine Pardo had such a terrible, deleterious effect on the quality of the lore. It is unreal. Reminder, he was the first guy who wrote the first novel in the Ill Clan era, and then they fired him. Basically, they changed horses midstream, and they've been floundering ever since.
FYI, my lights just flashed, so you might lose me here in a minute.
Yeah, mine did too. So we might wrap it up here and catch up on the rest of these. There's a very small number left. So maybe we'll make this last three the last three. And we thank you all, and we'll get to these when we stream later in the week. Thank you all. RazörForce, this has been an incredible offensive. Ranting Red Bear, as a former Californian, I can't stand the Gavin Newsom gaslighting. It's all the Democrats have, but it's so tiresome. Isn't it, though? Jegs Dino God, don't forget all the DC goons no longer living in Virginia. That is true. That is absolutely true. Gigamango Fanta, thoughts on the debanking efforts by the entrenched Pinko Stinko posse to platforms like Steam? Have you considered using e-checks for your businesses to avoid giving Visa and MasterCard a cut of purchases? I have thought about that. Actually, Unauthorized TV, the video hosting website that we're also a part of, they are working on their own payment processor thing. That's been an ongoing thing because they got debanked 3 times in a row.
Jesus.
It's annoying. Like people kept subscribing to our channel, and I sympathize with you guys. I hear about it all the time. Like, hey, what's going on with the payments? They asked me to sign up, and it's on a sketchy website. It's because they've had to come up with these slapdash kind of measures to fix the problem because they keep getting debanked. So they're working on their own independent red-pilled payment processor that cannot be debanked. And I wish them Godspeed in that effort because it can't come too soon. Paolo! Thank you, sir. In Ontario, Canada, a man's been charged with assault after a home invader attacked him with a crossbow. What? What? Is that real?
It's fucking Canada. I
believe it. I believe it. You seen some of the shit out of Vancouver, dude?
It's depressing.
God. Weefy playing through Assassin's Creed 1, and man, I miss what this series used to be. Whew, from your lips to God's ears. Especially when attempting to be historically accurate. My dad, an Arab, was impressed that the NPCs pronounced Salahadin's name right. Dude, Assassin's Creed 1 is special. It is. It's not perfect, but there has been no Assassin's Creed game quite like it since. Mirage got pretty close, though. Mirage was a nice little adjustment in the right direction, and they fucked that right up with Shadows. They followed Mirage up with Shadows. Did you see Shadows? Assassin's Creed Shadows has bombed so biblically hard, they have announced DLC for Mirage instead.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes,
I was going to bring that up too.
It is absolute insanity. Well, folks, I'll do one more before we get out of here. You guys are amazing. Throwing in with others to have Kersha on the offensive. We'd love to have her. She is great, and I'm glad to see she's doing better after that cancel pigs attempt. I hate when these dog piles happen on people. It's absolutely repulsive. Taryn, before we get blown away by this freaking haboob, this dust storm, we better get out of here. But thank you for joining me, bro. This has been an absolutely killer offensive.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Folks. Until next time, for Taryn Gell and the sadly missing Tactical Hobo, he'll join us next time. I am RazörFist. Don't get captured, and Godspeed!